Hello and welcome to the Contenders Trials Europe, Middle East and Africa powered by Monkey Bubble. The final split of the year is nearly over, and in this moment of melancholy, I say we go out with a bang. First, let's sample some of the finest games that OTPog versus Angry Titans can pour us. Two teams that have had their problems, but maybe they'll get better with age. Afterwards, let's get drunk on VSM versus Old on Board, as one team is fighting for more than a mediocre split, and the other one has a chance to bubble up towards the top of the list. So let's sip up from the bottle of good Overwatch, pour ourselves a glass of distilled Schadenfreude and maybe expectations, and enjoy the show. My name is the Olemancer, your parents' empty liquor cabinet for the evening. And with me is the word whiskey, the vintage of wisdom, the bottled big brain, and the highest percent of entertainment, man of class.
Yeah, welcome everybody. It's going to be a interesting day today. None of these games will actually be at all related to who gets to go to Contenders. That's already basically locked up, mathematically speaking.
You're right.
But it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter that these games don't make a difference. So, for instance, the current game that we've got going on, Angry Titans versus OTPog, actually matters in terms of who gets to stay in trials. We know for sure, as much as the path to pro for next year is still a bit vague, it has been, relayed to everybody that whoever gets third in their group in trials doesn't go to Contenders, but does get to stay in trials, so they don't have to be relegated. Angry Titans is currently in the 4th spot. They're behind Vasta Gaming, who's playing Ex Oblivion today. And as long as Vasta loses and Angry Titans wins with a 3-0, they're guaranteed to stay in trials. There's some other math going on there, like, different scenarios, but Angry Titans still has a chance to at least not drop down or definitely be relegated. So yeah, it's a good prospect for them, and it means this game actually can make a difference.
Yeah, let's talk more about Angry Titans. They've had their share of trouble, man of Clark. Yeah. They had more or less 2 new people coming in, as far as my math is correct. Me and counting, in the names of Eli and Levitate, both of them. Yeah. Good players in their own right. To all of you out there who don't know, good players in their own right. But they seem to have some cohesion issues. They seem to be unable to find a way that works for them, and maybe that's a compositional thing. Maybe that's a thing where where they are just not yet, in that team synergy that you want to have or that you will get with time. But explain to us what we've seen from Angry Titans so far. What, according to you, are the downfalls here for them?
I mean, a lot of it also feels like sort of a disappointment to Angry Titans themselves. I mean, we've seen it on Twitter, a few players, definitely expressing sort of their disappointment with how they've been doing this week. And it's understandable. I mean, you came down from Contenders, you still feel like, you're a decent team, but then immediately that first game against Ex Oblivion that we had on Wednesday already felt so off. It just, it felt like they weren't on top of what the meta is supposed to be. They were trying to run a Sombra for the longest time that just wasn't getting any value. Then they switch over to the composition that basically everyone's running right now, like that Wrecking Ball Sigma, Wrecking Ball Diva style with Tracer, Soldier, Echo. The DPS are very locked in at that stage. And it just didn't really come together to them. It really seemed like their preparation for this specific trials week just wasn't on point or on par with what some other teams had been running in that match, specifically Ex Oblivion. But after that, they haven't really doing that much better. The only match they won was against VSM so far. So there is a chance that they today actually can show up, able to pull out the victory and still secure their spot in trials, but it definitely hasn't been the week that they were potentially hoping for.
Yeah, and let's look at their opponents, right? You said so Angry Titans do have a good chance of actually pulling one off, and that is more on the detriment of OTPog than it is on the strength of Angry Titans, if my notes and my research are correct. I mean, they do have some decent players. I'm just calling a couple of them out: Invin, Pendrix, Fifileg, Baemon Fan. All names that are in their own right. Again, you're in trials in your own right. You're a good player, right? But OTPog, I call them basically the aluminium avoided, because they just don't have that sense of weight to them, that sense of panache, if you so will. And I was wondering, where do you think that comes from?
I mean, a lot of that comes from the same fact. Like OTPog is one trick players pog. You know, that's what it stands for. They're literally trying to mimic that same identity that Avoided and Clockwork Vendetta in the old days used to have, where they're not really trying to be flexible. They're not really trying to really adopt to a meta. They are still a little bit more flexible. They don't do the true one-trick players that we've used to be seeing in some of these teams. But just like Avoided, they are being slightly more flexible. They do have some more tricks up their sleeve. It just seems that from the one-trick perspective itself, they are already a little bit behind of where Avoided used to be.
Yeah.
And then you get the multiple heroes on it. It's harder to adopt to a meta that way. It's just not the same caliber that we've been seeing from Avoided. And that's okay. No, it's definitely not something that we're saying, oh, you have to be good straight away just because you're one of those one-trick teams. But it does show that being a team like that, trying to play the same heroes almost everywhere all the time, is harder than it seems, even if you're really good at those heroes.
Yeah, and we are going to see how they are going to do in the control map in just a few minutes. We do see that there seems to be a bit of an issue. One of the players has disconnected. So we are waiting for the teams to work that out. But let's talk about the map. What is the map in the dynamic of both of these teams? We have one team that don't know their composition yet. At least that's what Angry Titan feels like. We have another team that feels like they do know their composition, but they're just not executing it the way they want it to. So how can a map be, you know, the little extra pebble that you throw into the pond here?
I mean, a map can definitely change what compositions you are playing. So we're going to Oasis Gardens here. It's always been a playground for Pharahs, for dive in general, but also Rush. It's the more hybrid version that we have on Oasis. We have, of course, University, which is very more close encounters, then City Center, which is open, stallable, and everything. And then this point has always been a bit of that middle ground. You can play both styles. You see Angry Titans immediately going for that double barrier. It's a very old style of play, but it doesn't mean it cannot work, and these players should be very familiar with it.
Yeah, all of them had a decent run in the time when the double barrier was the cream of the crop. Now moving up, Angry Titans taking the high ground. That is probably the reason why they went for that. BAME #1 fan moves in, immediately gets caught out. Pendrix also very low there. So you do see that there is enough damage in that composition to be absolutely crushing, even though, you know, FIFA gets Crocs out, but at the end of the day, Eli and Freyu clean it up. Angry Titans looking pretty good so far in that first few minutes of the game.
This is what we call the epiphany of an anti-dive comp. You have a halt, an accretion, a flashbang, freezing, walls, immortality fields, shield bash. There's so much that denies a proper dive that you cannot just keep running this if you are OTPog. You're going to keep running into a wall, essentially.
BAME fan again under the pillar, gets caught out. Quarter follows immediately afterwards. You do see a lot of good target calling coming out of the Angry Titans as they try to pressure into that double shield, but to no, as they execute the double barrier that OTPog wants to pressure that way around.
Yeah, definitely so, and 40% already on this point. You got the ultimates coming up now for, well, at least for Angry Titans. For OTPog, not so much. The Blade could open things up, but we all know how that pesky Immortality field can shut it down.
Now moving in yet again, OTPog wanted Pendrix. Once again, that was a very good deflect onto Pure Irish's balls there. That being said, there it is. The blade comes out. Pendrix looking for more. There was an immortality field in the way. He only gets 1 kill. 2 if you count Invin helping onto Pure Irish. But OTPog, this time the aggression seems to be working. 64% as they take the pointy amount of class. And that didn't look very solid, but at the end of the day they pulled it off, so that was pretty decent in my book.
Yeah, and that always looks what this comp of OTPog kind of wants to do. They kind of want to have a very messy, brawly fight where they don't really get a pure team wipe. It's always going to be a bit messy, losing 1 or 2 players on the side, maybe over-missing ultimates, but it also sows chaos on the Angry Titans, and a hook like that just opens it up.
It absolutely does, and now that means that BAME fan and the rest of their crew on OTPog are absolutely under pressure. Eli already fires in the ultimate and is able to catch one out. We do see another disconnect on the team of OTPog, so we will see whether or not the pause comes through. There it is. But regardless of a disconnect, yes or no, this attack here, regardless of the hook, that hook was great. FIFA doing a great hook there. This attack looks very solid on the side of Angry Titans. They want to go in, make sure that OTPog don't really get a lot of room to stand on. They don't really set up in a classical sense, but they do want to keep the pressure up because they don't really have that front line that can hold pressure. So looking right,
100%.
I mean, BAME fan, FIFA they're movable objects and not the immovables that Crocs and Pure Irish are playing.
Yeah, it's really the ultimate flank mobility comp, right? Like if FIFA Lex, it's a little bit of a connection between the front line and the enemy, the back line and the enemy team, but it can still go on a lot of flanks. BAME 1 fans just rolling around at the speed of sound wherever they want to go, and they're getting helped out by Pendrix and even by Redziok to try and focus up the damage that they're not quite getting down themselves. So when a target is CC'd, they're supposed to do the focus fire. FIFA Lex and BAME 1 fan are on the high ground, but Angry Titans is still on the point and taking out Quader. No more rally for you.
Yeah, Fal and Eli this time finding their targets. We talked about this off camera for a while. I really want to see Fal have a better performance than what we saw on Wednesday. We'll see whether or not this was the first shot in a long line of shots. Eli on the other side goes out with 3, looking for number 4 as Inwin is the only one who's still dancing around there, actually just slowly extending the timer there, making sure that that gets staggered out. It's fair. It's a good strategy.
It's exactly what you always want to do. As long as you have control of the objective, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to kill an enemy, as long as you try to do it before the other team comes back and saves them. But it's a good stall coming out. Now we look at the ultimates. That Blizzard is especially going to be very detrimental. Even a Critic Flux, if you combine the two, that's just a guaranteed kill on someone. It has to be.
Yeah, we do see on the top, BAME fan comes out with a minefield. That was beautifully said. Also, caught up is Pendrix with the blade in the ultimate of Pure Irish, just hanging up in the air. And that is really not the way you want to start your Genji ultimate. This time, the fight is more or less even though there's more Angry Titans around. We see Pure Irish trying to go for Invin, who has to jump away behind that wall yet again, or behind that pillar yet again, just trying to extend the overtime, but this should be over by any stretch of the imagination unless something crazy happens. I don't think it will, though.
I mean, there's a blade from Pendrix. That's what I'm saying. You know, Pendrix blades can be very detrimental, but with this amount of players left, it's not happening. It doesn't even get the 1 kill out of it. That's Angry Titans picking up the first point in a fairly comfortable fashion, I might add. I mean, yes, OTPog plays a very unconventional style, but you do see how it's different than what, for instance, a team like Avoided is playing, where this exact style, the exact combination of heroes, is just not as conducive to the meta as what Avoided has been playing. FIFA Lex going over to the D.Va might change things in Quadra on the Lucio. It gives you more mobility, but you're still going to have Invin on the Ana be very alone, very hard to peel for. That's really where that D.Va picks comes from. The Lucio also still being around. But for now, all they have to do is go for another pause. It's not been their day when it comes to connections, Ollie.
It definitely hasn't. Probably in Poland, someone has spilled something on one of the main nodes. So that can happen. You know, we'll be patiently waiting for that. On the other side, I'm looking at Angry Titans. I'm looking at the things that they are picking to come out of the gate with. And I know it's not 100% 10 in stone, but I do see Fal on that Sombra. I'd like to have your thoughts on that.
I mean, we saw it on Wednesday where Fal was playing the Sombra, and if a team counters the Sombra properly, it is basically impossible to play. We saw Kara just stun them out of their EMP multiple times against Oblivion. But that doesn't mean that it's going to happen every single time. In this team, there's not that many tools they can use to stun out a Sombra. In general, they're not playing in that same grouped up style. They're also always spy checking. So Fal should get much more value, should get much more space, and the Sombra might work out a lot better. If you play against that meta comp that we see a lot of the time, if you play against a double barrier or an Orisa-based composition, it's harder. But I do think that this time around, Fal could do a lot better. And when we're going back into this, which it looks like we are fairly soon, it's going to be very. I hope that Fal does well with it. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Because I believe in this one. I believe.
This one, I believe, as well, especially since they're swapping back onto that May. Maybe a tad hard to, to work out with Red Seahawk still in the air, but you still have Eli next to you when you're foul, so it should be fine. Yeah, this is more or less the classic OTPog combination. No surprises, no changes there. And on the side of Angry Titans, it is mostly what they played on Wednesday and mostly what they just played in the last round. As Angry Titans move around the side, they are trying to get the aggression in, but right now OTPog with a bigger contingent onto the capture point itself. Now the first attack moving in as Angry Titans comes in as a unit. One fan up on top is thinking of a pile driver, does not go down. Now he goes and immediately afterwards gets caught out, gets stunned and caught out by Eli, who is just waiting for that ball to come in. Fiffolek with a good hook there on the side as the capture still moves forward. We do see Quarter being kept alive for a long time by Inwin until Fall and Eli just collapse on them. Fall nicely on the double kill, gets caught by Fiffolek on the side. The point now in the hands of OTPog, despite the more coordinated effort by Angry Titans. And I must say, bit of a surprise, but nicely played nonetheless.
It's really what this point works a bit better for when it comes to OTPog. They can surround their enemy a lot more. It's a much more open space with more flanking potential. And sticking together, playing with that balled up group with the double barrier is not really as easy on this point as it is on the previous one. Will be easier again on the University, but over here they first have to, well, make sure they don't get surrounded too much, which so far what's happening.
Yeah, the mobility really working in the favor of OTPog. Now Angry Titans moving back in. Fiffolek gets caught out of the back of a great accretion by Pure Irish. And now moving in with the amplification matrix. Angry Titans move up, trying to catch out One Fan, who is able to lose off the minefield. Pendrix comes in. That blade already gets one. Is unable to do more on the back of a great immortality field. But Red Seahawk with the copy takes down two. Pure Irish and Levitate, both in the copy flux right there, and that is beautifully played by the Echo on the side of OTPog. Foul takes down Quarter. The capture is still not coming through. You do see a bit of a lack of support for the Angry Titans as OTPog are just relentlessly moving in and around them. Crocs takes a double kill, but will get pushed off the point as Red Seahawks comes to the rescue of One Fan. That was some great play here, man of class.
Oh, it's insane how close Croc still manages to make that with all that Orisa damage. Already has got another supercharger up. Amazing work from them. But unfortunately, we always talk about theoretical and practical old value. And this was definitely a fight where showed that practical old value in this situation for Angry Titans is just very lacking because of that open mobility space. Foul got zero value out of that Blizzard, and that is just the story of this map.
Yeah, you have too many approaches, 3 to 4 sides. Now we come in with the rallies on both sides. People like One Fan fire onto Fall on Pure Irish, and this is not what you want when you're the Angry Titans. You're getting caught up from 3 different sides. The High Noon actually gets countered by Pendrix, who then takes Eli down. At the same time, the overtime wick now running 0 to 99%. It's 3 versus 2 on the point. The minefield comes out from One Fan. Pendrix is still up in the air and is trying to pressure the backline. Freyu specifically looking to get into a bit of cover, and there's the blade. Pendrix going for one. It goes down yet again as Pure Irish comes in with the wrecking ball on the double kill. Overtime is still running as 2 versus 2 is coming on. One Fan being hacked out, being taken care of by Fall, who has swapped over, and that was the right call this time around. This Levitate takes Quarter. It's 3 versus 1. The Angry Titans no longer playing around. Fiffolek hacked, and this should actually flip the point here, man of class, unless there is more OTPog coming in from the side, but it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, Fall going for the other disable hero, going for the Sombra in order to hack people up. Eli over to the Echo. They want to have more mobility themselves. Crocs on the Diva, Pure Iris on the ball. Freyu and Levitate will even swap up. Well, actually, Freyu will to the Ana, so yeah, Angry Titans entirely adapting for this objective. It might be a bit late, but at least they've got control of the point, and they have the potential to build up ultimates, especially Foul, who's already got that EMP burning and ready.
Yeah, you are right, Foul, building that EMP quite fast, and this is good Overwatch. 2 or 3 swaps, and the entire scene flips on their head. Red Seahawk under some pressure from Foul. Good hack onto One Fan, and this should be 2 pickups here for the Angry Titans. They play that quite nicely. We do see another time on the side of Coorda. for the ladies and gentlemen from Poland. I am very much afraid that half of Poland right now seems to be behind the Chinese wall or something like that.
Yeah.
But going back to what we've just seen, you're at 99%. You're being sent back to the drawing board. You come out there, you swap to a more mobile composition, pull this back from the brink, and now you're just playing a very aggressive counterplay style when you're on the Angry Titans side. Can they hold up to the pressure though? 99% on that cap.
I mean, right now they've got the ultimates to work with, they've got the positioning to work with. Because they swapped up their entire team, it might also be that, this style of OTPog that they're playing, they might be not used to just all this complete swap up, so they have to have a minor adjustment too. They didn't have that many resources yet. I think right now, when you look at how the teams are in terms of where they are on the map, what the ult charge is, with the composition they're running, it really is a sort of a reset, because they didn't have 0 ultimates, but they both have about the same amount, the same type of value. And Titans put themselves back on the win condition of Foul hitting a good EMP. And I want to see Rezyok do this one trick that we've seen quite a few players do, where they wait for the EMP, hide from it, then copy Foul, and then do an EMP of their own to counter EMP what Foul has just done. That would be really cool if we see that happen. I don't know if they're going to have the ability in big brain play to do it, but that's a really effective way of dealing with that.
Well, Rezyok, we're riding with them for a bit. The copy is, of course, on the line. So is the EMP on the other side. Now moving in OTPog. Now they want to at least make sure that there are some eyes on that first approach towards the point, while the rest of them reposition around the side. But the high ground is fully on Angry Titans. The whole hog comes on for Fifoleg. Pure Irish being cocked out there. The EMP, that's 3 people set up. Fifoleg with a double kill. The point is contested, but still open. The copy from Rezyok is there. Both of the Diva bombs come out. Crocs this time takes down Quarter. The overtime wick is still running as the minefield gets just levitated out. We're looking at a 2 versus 2 on the point. A lot of pressure coming from that front line of Angry Titans as Eli, who has swapped to the Echo, comes to the rescue, but goes down to Inven at the end of it all. 2 versus 1 on the point. Pendrick's still there, goes down at the end of it all. Fal and Crocs take it out. But the point has been counterflipped after it had been flipped by OTPog after that just first engaged. So very fast Overwatch we're seeing here.
Yeah, and at least that guarantees OTPog another fight. Otherwise, there might have already been an overtime and it would have been over. But again, we see swaps coming out. Eli now on the Tracer. We know how good they are on that hero. Freyu on the Moira, Levitate on the Lucio. It's going all over the place with these teams. And OTPog are the ones not switching, but Foul is still getting the damage out.
Yeah, Fifoleg has the Nano, takes down Levitate on that Lucio, and goes into a whole hog all the way along the side. BAME #1 fan goes in as the Diva Bomb comes over. The Diva Bomb does not find a lot of targets, and now it is time for Crocs to try and just put the meat on the point where it belongs. Eli on the side with the Tracer, catches out Rezyok. That was a good stick try, but the shield blocks it. Quarter very lucky there not to die to Eli's bomb. Fifoleg looking for further targets after hooking Eli out. Cannot find a lot of it. There's the EMP by Fall. Hitches Fifoleg and BAME fan and Inven. Inven goes down. That's a big pick right there as Pendrix comes on the side to take Levitate. There's the blade. Pendrix with the double, looking for further. Sees Fall in the distance. Will try to go in there, but cannot reach the Sombra. Pure Irish drops on the minefield. The overtime we're still running 1 versus 1 right here. Both of these teams giving us some good fights. This is 1-1 as BAME1 fan pressures out Pure Irish's last remaining hit point. If this is the tempo of the game, I'm being happy. This is the kind of Overwatch we all need in our eyeballs right now.
And I think this is definitely a way that you can see the stylistic difference between these teams. I mean, OTPog just wants to play in the open space, wants to play around, not focus on the same targets, but rather take the duels, take the one target out that they're able to separate from a group. And Angry Titans just hasn't really been playing that way. They've been playing way more as a group, way more grouped up, way more clustered up. And when these fights break out in more of a disorganized, chaotic fashion, you see Angry Titans' value drop massively. When we go to University, though, this should be a point where Angry Titans' playstyle is way more complemented by the geometry of the map, but that doesn't mean it's going to be an easy one, as OTPog is already taking place on that objective.
They are this time around. They want to take the only bit of open space they can find. Pure Irish catches out Pendrix. Pendrix, no way of getting back there. But now OTPog surrounding the AT as they stand in the side room. Now moving up Pure Irish, the rest of the team putting some pressure up onto Fifoleg and BAME number 1 fan. Fifoleg and the rest of the team moving towards the high ground here. The point being flipped towards Angry Titans for the first couple of percents, but Pendrix is in the backline, and so is Redziok. So now the attack is coming in. First pick comes out from Pendrix onto Eli, and that means that should be the starting shot for OTPog to come in. As BAME 1 fan goes down, both of the teams find their picks. Pure Irish with the double kill, Levitate that stops the equalization and kills Pendrix. And even though the point is being capped right now, it does look as if Angry Titans can come back from that. Redziok goes down immediately, and Crocs has the bongos ready for the next approach. So this is going to be a very hard nut to crack.
Yeah, Angry Titans is finally back on their disable comp, their double barrier bash comp. It's looking really good for them because they don't really have to worry about those open space engages. They're just accretioning, sleeping, freezing, stunning, halting, just all the enemies down. You can see how nice and bunched up these DPS and support are trying to be and are allowed to be. It's really a great position for them to be in.
I mean, Eli, as soon as he has the opportunity to get the drop on Pendrix rather than the other way around, he will be able to deal with that Genji. We do see that time and time again. Good high noon catches Fifoleg off the side. We do know that there is someone, namely Pendrix, with the blade up in there. There it is, the Gravitating Flux trying to deal with Pendrix, who was healed out through that with a great nano by Invin. But at the end of the day, it is Foul who picks up both Pendrix and Redziok. So right now, even though OTPog was very aggressive, Angry Titans are holding on to their glory.
Yeah, Angry Titans are doing a good job of stalling out this objective a little bit more. Infin went down. It's actually a good resource of healing gone that might sustain this fight for longer. But the hooks from FIFA are so good.
Hooks him into the minefield with a slight left turn, and that is the kind of fisherman you want on your team. Fifoleg on the hog. We know from experience that can be devastating, and he shows it yet again. Now 5% and ticking up. Coming in for the OTPog, but it's 97% of the capture on the point for the Angry Titans. So one more good attack, one more coordinated attack like we've seen in the first try, and this is over for the first map. We'll see how things are going to play out, though, as BAME 1 fan is watching that side room like a hawk, trying to get a read onto the situation. Pendrix jumping over the wall, making a couple of little dents into the defense here for the Angry Titans, unable to actually get something done, though, as Freyu gets the first blood. Crocs and Freyu turn up for more. Redziok, though, that's a great meteor strike. Goes in with the double onto Levitate, but Freyu takes another 2. That's 4 onto the contour of one of the greatest Baptistes that Europe has ever seen. Freyu shoots and scores multiple times. The overtime wake now running low. Quadra unable to touch it. There it is, the recontest. This time on a monkey on Fifoleg, who just jumps up. BAME number 1 fan comes up with the follow-up on Tufal, but Crocs and Eli are there. So is Freyu, takes up another one, gets that Hammond out of the backline. Invin very low, 1 HP, and that's it. The first map going to the Angry Titans, but very hard contest here.
Very hard contest, and OTPog was doing a really good job the entire map. You could just see where the weaknesses of their comp are. The same thing can be said though for Angry Titans. I mean, we saw how little they got done on that second point of Oasis City Center, and if this series keeps going, we might actually just be able to determine who's going to win purely based on the map pool. So Ollie, let's get into it. Let's get to map 2, 3, and maybe 4 and 5, and see who's going to get away with this series. For now, it's Angry Titans number 1, and not that that's necessarily unexpected, but it's definitely it's been a contested one. Yeah.
It has been a harder fought match even than I expected. I mean, I know from experience, especially in the German community, both Eli and Levitate sometimes have some issues with the control maps, with the teams that they play over there. So that is something you need to take into consideration when looking at that. But all in all, ladies and gentlemen, it is so that the Angry Titans have been playing a very controlled style. OTPog have had a lot of disconnects that will definitely play a role right there, because you can't just focus on your own game. But it also means that on the second point, OTPog, they are very aggressive, going in very hard, and that means you get caught out early. And as soon as you get caught out, not one but maybe two people, Angry Titans has enough target calling qualities, enough priorities in the way that they play this game that they will pull it back, I would say.
Yeah, so we will just take a short break. One of the players is trying to get their internet connection ready back up, so we don't know how long it's going to take. Will not be more than a few minutes at most, so we'll see you right after that. Don't go anywhere for the continuation. Angry Titans versus OTPog.
Hello, and we are back here at the Overwatch Contenders Trials, EMEA on Monkey Bubble. We have a bit of an update for you. It looks like it wasn't just a single player with some router issues, but there seems to be a deeper, more related server issue. Man of Class, what is the latest news on the side of what's happening?
Yeah. Okay, so the latest news is that there's just server issues overall within Overwatch, especially the European region. Apparently also on the live servers a little bit. So yeah, we kind of got to wait until we get some feedback from the admins, maybe from Blizzard themselves, seeing, if there's something we can do. Maybe we might have to postpone the matches. Until then, we'll just keep the stream running. But there's not much we can do. Like, we can show you them running around in Horizon for fun, but... yeah, there's already asked questions for the players where they want to go play Rocket League. So I don't know. We're gonna try and give you games, but if they're not happening, they're not happening. That's how it is. I'm sorry. So yeah, we're gonna just go back to a break. Hopefully we come back with games. If we don't, we'll tell you, and we'll tell you what's up, and if they're gonna be rescheduled or anything like that. For now, though, just enjoy the pause screen, I guess. Sorry, guys. We also wish it would be different, but that's how it is. EU Trials is still not concluded, but it will be in sometime in the future.
Yeah, so stay tuned. We will keep you updated until that time. Argue about candy bars, just like we and the players have for the last couple of minutes. Cheers.
Basically.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back, and finally, we are in game. You are still watching OTPog versus Angry Titans here on the Contenders Trials, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I'm the Aldermancer. With me is the man of class. A man of class, before we had this extended pause, you made a very interesting point. You said we can actually predict the outcome of the next match based on the map and the map type that we are going to see. So I would like you to explore that idea, expand on that, and tell us how you would expect this to go out.
I would do that, but Ollie, there's simply no time because we're going to go into games. The teams are going out of spawn. It's going to be Angry Titans starting on the attack with their double barrier composition that we've been seeing a lot on their control maps. And I would say on Hanamura, there might actually be one where that works out quite well, especially on defense, but also on offense, because there isn't as much room to flank and create chaos like OTPog might want to do.
You're right, and speaking of offense and defense, OTPog on the defense in green this time around. They swapped colors inside. On the offense, of course, the Angry Titans, and they're moving in as angrily as they can with that double shield composition. They are sitting in the side room, trying to get Quarter down. Quarter getting away from that with just a sliver of health as the Angry Titans are pushing in on the point. No more Tourbillon turret on the side. Kaju, in the meantime, has been swapped into OTPog, but wasn't able to show their colors before at least the turret goes down. Pendrix gets caught out, and now this is looking quite good. Angry Titans pushing it in as Pure Irish pushes in Quarter. Kaju now finally goes down as well. Good sleep onto Foul, but it doesn't look like Bane 1 fan can hold on to this long enough to stop an A cap, and we do see the A cap coming out now, man of class.
It looks like a very fine line for OTPog between surrounding Angry Titans or being separated by Angry Titans. This fight was more of an example of the latter. You saw Quadra, for instance, at some point stood on the stairs on the left side of the point. The rest of the team was on the other side, and a Brigitte alone is not a good fit against any team. It's a 6v1, they all turn on them, and Quadra was down. Now, it might be a little bit easier on this second point, especially if you see FIFA go back over to the Roadhog, but it's still not a given that Angry Titans cannot do that again to them.
Yeah, Keiju on the Tourbillon still there, so a lot of pot shots, a lot of random damage flying all over the place, unless you take care of that tower, and of course the Molten Cores are there to basically hold any approach. Now up on the high ground though, Angry Titans are moving in. There is the copy from Eli. He goes in with the Roadhog hook, just barely misses it. Actually the chain broke, but the whole hog is ready. He's very low, but he's going for the whole hog, actually trying to get rid of the turret first. That was a good call. Freyu gets a good shot, and so does Crocs as the ultimate already down. Pendrix now though with the blade already picked up one, goes for further targets here. It has that May in their sights, takes down Fall, takes down Eli. Quarter and Pendrix just save this from being at least a single take. Well played here, but you cannot hold on to that pressure for so long when you're on OTPog side.
Yeah, Pendrix is one of those two players we keep talking about when it's about OTPog. Has an amazing Genji, almost always gets value out of that blade, whether it's nanoed or not. And together with FIFA Lex, they're just really the ones putting out a lot of the damage. Kaiju, yes, they do work on the Tourbillon. The turret is very distracting, but it's really all to make space for Pendrix and FIFO to find hooks, to find blade value, to just find general Genji value. He just used the blade, already up to 50%. I think that tells you enough.
We'll see how they are going to use all those damages, though. The blade, 55% right now. Fifole going very low, takes a breather here, and is able to get away from a lot of damage that's firing out. But Keiju takes it out with the triple. That was beautifully done. And you do see OTPog, when they get the opportunity to get a jump on you, Angry Titans will just fall. So you need to be aware of that when you're trying to push into this.
Beautiful opening from FIFA to open that up. Just gets the hook onto Crocs. Crocs is down in the valley, and the rest of Angry Titans has to follow. They have to all jump in there to fight as a unit. That's the strength of their composition. That's the strength of their team, to just fight as a unit. And as soon as they get disrupted, as soon as their pathing or their movement or their positioning gets disrupted, they look very disorganized.
Now moving up once again, Angry Titans jump in, but so does Ben 1 fan. That was a good pile driver, good immortality field. Make sure that no more damage can be done here. And there it is, the ultimate comes out from Pure Irish, tries it with the graphitic flux. Foul follows up on Caillou, but there's another raid. That's a double, goes for 3, but gets accretion out of it. Levitate and Pure Irish essentially save a lot of lives there, but Ben 1 fan there to close the deal out. OTPog still holding on to it. Pure Irish unable to get away. And now it's just a caught out May in the corner. They are just hard trying to stagger this out. Foul is at the absolute mercy here of the OTPog, and that for a long time.
Yeah, nice stagger on that May. On the hit, here you see often being staggered, but it can happen at times. I think Angry Titans does a very good job of taking the high ground. They can just walk up there. Of course, there isn't that much. They can test an entire team's position on the side of OTPog, but there is definitely a bit of a problem when it comes to Angry Titans moving off of the high grounds. They go for these initiations as if they're almost like a rush or a dive team, but they're not. Every single time they do that, there's a disconnect happening where they just lose 1 or 2 players because they can't fight as a unit anymore.
You are right. Now, the question that I would like to ask here is, why not go for the same composition they won on control with? So you with the D.Va with a ball on their own and just try to retake control of the tempo of the game here. We do see there was another attack. Once again, the Molten Core and Pendrix are enough to just push the entirety of Angry Titans out of there. And with another composition, including maybe Foul Sombra, that would make it a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, but they're just slowing down the game and trying to get a pick on one target. They're just looking to focus down that one hero that they can. Like Pendrix right now, Pendrix gets caught out. That's the good opener for Angry Titans. Same goes for a lot of other heroes that might or might not get caught out on the side. You see it happen every now and then. Bane 1 fan, FIFO-Lex, maybe even Invin or Quad or Kaiju at times, but someone needs to get caught. And you can see how FIFO just looks at that hook. Oh, no.
Oh, wow. He is just waiting patiently, just waiting for that startup. But Pure Irish immediately equalizes. There's another blade, and you do see the ultimate for the May coming out. Foul firing out that blizzard that actually saved a lot of lives, just slowing this entirety down. Also, of course, Freyo and Levitate with a good response at the end of the day. Levitate went down, and we do see the Angry Titans get pushed back. Yet again, there's one person on the point here, and it's Crocs, but he is caught out, surrounded by 5 OTPog players. And at that point, it's just waiting. 22 seconds remaining, and now it's time to just go for the one and only.
I remember every map that OTPog wins makes the chances for Angry Titans still staying in trials, getting that 3rd place in the group a little bit harder. Every single time that Vasta gets another opening to keep that gap, it's another problem for Angry Titans. Now, following a bit of pressure on the high ground, they don't even touch anymore. They can't get there. This will be OTPog full holding the 2nd point of Hanamura, and Angry Titans knows what they have to do. They have to hold OTPog on point A, or at least, if they want to go for a draw, not let them cap a tick on point B, and that is a tall order. We just saw OTPog do it, so it is definitely possible, but it's by no means an easy feat.
Well, on the other side, you know, if you go for the defensive side now, being the Angry Titans, and you go play that double shield composition with the mid to long range engages against a team where you actually know what the matchup is going to be, you might actually have a decent shot at holding point A in its totality, unless you have the same issues keeping away your OTPog DPS players from your flanks. So Pendrix and Kaiju, especially Pendrix, you need to make sure that they can't just come in from a certain side and start demolishing you. Otherwise, that's a good hold strategy here.
Yeah, it definitely is. Hold strategies for this map in general. Generally speaking, they just come down to a fairly static hold. You do see teams go sometimes with a dive or sometimes with more mobility on that defense, especially in the current meta. But that Orisa, the Reinhardt styles, just in general, these type of compositions that Angry Titans likes to play are fairly popular on a map like Hanamura. So it's not something that cannot work, but it's definitely still hard to hold the first 4 minutes in the first place, because all you sometimes need is just that 6 ultimate bank, and you'll get that first point guaranteed, and that's OTPog's potential plan.
So you're expecting advantage here for OTPog?
Maybe. It's possible.
Okay. Now moving out though, the Angry Titans coming out with a very aggressive defense. Fifoleg is on the off angle, is unable to use that position for the longest time as Levitate finds quarter. Eli goes down though, but Freyu is there to pick up Invin. Freyu taking up more, actually takes Keiju out as well. That is beautiful. Fifoleg has to pull back as Crocs puts a lot of pressure on them, and that looked like a very good breakout defense here. 3 minutes on the point, just over, and you do see, except for Pendrix and Bame, you got a long time to at least catch your breath.
Yeah, but that's the problem though, because they might have won the battle, but with that one tick already taken by Pendrix and Bame 1, they might lose the war eventually, because they cannot have their heads in two different spaces. That's what Angry Titans' problem is. They're looking very good to hold choke, they're looking very good to hold points, they look very bad at doing both at the same time.
Now moving in, Fall takes Cage's turret out. Eli is once again there to deal with Bame 1 fan, doing a great job keeping that wrecking ball in check. Now, Freyu, looking at him, his positioning is absolutely impeccable. I've said it before, I think Freyu is one of the best, if not the best, Baptiste that we have seen in a long time in the European region. Now though, moving up, let's look at the game itself. Angry Titans are on the defensive side, have to get Bame 1 fan out again. You do see that both the amplification matrix and the bongos are out, and Crocs is just making sure that a lot of those projectiles are flying in the air.
We're watching baseball here. It's not like, because Angry Titans is by not by any means losing fights.
That's a double! Jumps in up to Levitate, and Freyu has that blade, goes in for more. Once Pure Irish takes him out and is now looking to actually stop out Fall as well. That was a blade with a lot of value. Point A is capped. We're going on to point B. 4 minutes 42 on the clock, and baseball suddenly turned into ultimate frisbee, man of class.
I was gonna say, because before the Angry Titans wasn't losing fights, they were just losing the objective, which is what happens so often in baseball. They just steal the base away, right? But not here. It's going to be a very tough one, and Luke Pendrix is already starting to do it again. They put so much pressure onto dislocating Angry Titans, and now they have another way of doing it by pressuring that point, and they just C9 it. They just get off it, Ollie. This is over. OTPog bangs it to the 1-1.
Can you explain this to me, please? Explain this to the people out there as well.
Angry Titans has to fight in one location, and OTPog makes them fight in multiple. That's a conclusion of that entire map. It's very tough to not have that happen when you play against that, and especially if you're Angry Titans that has just shown very inept at that more open composition, at the more divey, the more rush, the Sigma ball, the ball diva compositions that we've been seeing so much, and that's a shame. Honestly, they just feel like they're behind the meta, and they're trying to do their own thing, which we usually encourage. Usually say, like, if you have your own style, you're really good at it, do it. But it doesn't seem like they're able to deal with any mobility compositions that are so popular right now with their own static anti-dive, so to speak. So I would really hope that eventually they're gonna go back to maybe figuring that out. But for now, Angry Titans is in a bit of trouble because they need to win this match. Like, I cannot stress enough how much they need to win this game in order to not just be relegated straight away. And they might feel like it's over already, but there's still a shot. And if you don't relegate to Open Division, it's already looking a little bit better for next season. You get that to hold on, you know, those fingers crossed, or the at least the little sparks of hope. That's what you want.
Well, we're still far from any decision either way, as Angry Titans and OTPog are equalized 1-1. We will be loading into Eichenwalde, which is going to be our hybrid map for today. Now, Eichenwalde, once again, based on the pure compositional play, the things that these people like to play right here, man of class, I would give the edge to Angry Titans, but we've seen that can be very wrong on my end. So please explain to me why I'm wrong.
I mean, you probably are wrong. I think there's definitely a lot of avenues of attack and defense that you can constantly take. OTPog's composition, Wrecking Ball, Genji, even Roadhog to a large degree, Diva as well. Like, they can all have different avenues of approach. They can run around the objective, through the castle, above the castle, around the castle. Even in the first point, you already have that tower and a few other, and like the high ground road, there's a few different options there. And as long as Angry Titans cannot consolidate around the objective, cannot consolidate just their power to deny any positioning or any objective project progress for OTPog, they're going to be losing more, because that entire thing, Angry Titans hasn't actually lost that many fights. They really haven't, but they're being pressured into either going for a fight win or defending the objective. They're not seeming to be able to do both at the same time. And that's I've said it a few times now, but that's really what it's about. And that's really what the problem is with that composition. It's very hard to do both at the same time, because as soon as you try to do both, you separate your team, and OTPog just dives on one of the sides of it and takes them out and then goes for the other, and then they still win. And if you don't deal with the objective, you lose the fight. If you don't deal with the fight, you lose the objective. So that was really a crisscross, and I hope that they can figure it out somehow. Maybe they actually have a very different strategy for Eichenwalde itself, but it does seem they really want to stick with that double barrier.
Again, I'm still on the fence about that, because in theory, I like double barriers. You know that I was one of the few people who like the double barrier, because it's a very strategic and very pokey meta where you try to find your venue, try to find your opening, and then act from there. However, we've seen Angry Titans once again on the control point go for a Sombra Diva strategy that worked like a charm, actually completely roll over OTPog, no matter what they put on the field back then.
Sure.
And they're not playing it. So I'm still on the fence about which composition I like better, but I think Angry Titans should try to switch it up, at least for the first couple of rounds, to get OTPog a little bit off balance, I think.
Well, I mean, it's very simple. OTPog's not going to switch. So if you're going to adapt to them, or if you're going to pressure them, you have to make that move. Yeah. Because they will just read you like a book otherwise, and keep doing the same thing over and over. And I think Angry Titans knows. I think they know they're very split, or they're not able to really be split, and they're trying to consolidate. You see it happening more and more through Hanamura, where they really stick together properly, where they go to high ground, where they stay on high ground, where they defend. Everything of that is really statically clustered. And while, again, it's not a bad strategy, usually you see that the objective itself is a very bad place to actually cluster up. Yeah. And that's why their composition loses so much power there. That's why they don't hold there. And now that we're going to Eichenwalde, it's a bit of a different story, but all we do know is that with a non-static objective and a static composition, it's going to be even trickier to pull that off. So first point has to be a good hold from Angry Titans when they start the defense here. Otherwise, they might be getting in more and more trouble as the series goes on, especially since it's an escort map next.
It is an escort map next after this hybrid round. Now, these teams 1-1 after what seemed to be two dramatic games so far. Even though the delay was big, the games themselves were absolutely dramatic. Please remind us quickly for each of those teams, what is on the line for them, because I believe that both of the teams can still at least gain something out of a victory here tonight.
OTPog barely, to be honest. They cannot really get a third place. They cannot really do anything other than maybe clinching 5th instead of 6th. So it's really about Angry Titans trying to keep their spot in trials. They can't get to contenders. That's out of the question for anybody, but Old and Bored and Ex-Oblivion in this group. But they can at least do that. And right now, with this defense, this is a start of regaining their composure in this match. And Levitate already not able to do so.
Yeah, you do see that. Eli follows up with a kill of the FIFA leg, but Keiju comes up and takes Eli out of the equation as well. Quarter and Foul stun each other as well, and are able to just equalize the opportunities. And we do see at the end of it all, when the dust settles, OTPog are ahead here on the kill count, and therefore are capping the point. The first third is already done. That was the second, and you do see the Angry Titans not really with an opportunity to come in on here and stop this cap from happening. That means that the payload is now free. We're moving in on the further attack and into the escort section of this.
Yeah, they're absolutely bullying Levitate right now. Levitate has been so often the first pick in these fights, and they know it too. They know how sort of easily they can get Levitate, because they're always the one that sort of gets left behind. They're the one that's supposed to protect the backline, so maybe has their head on the swivel a little bit. And every time Angry Titan starts to move, you see that backline pressure coming up. Pendrix jumps on it, FIFO and BAME1, and now it's Fall going down. They do trade it out, but there's a Nano Blade. That's not going to go well for you.
Yeah, there's a rally to stop that, I believe, for Pendrix. Still takes out the Immortality Field, goes on with a double kill, and while the Blade is done, he's still looking for further targets, and that in the guise of Freyu. Freyu goes down at the end of the day, being made to sashimi by the Japanese chef with the robot armor, and the payload running around already towards the bridge. This is a very fast push.
Yeah, so far it really is. BAME1 fan's gonna go for the boop. He's gonna try and find something. Almost as the minefield ready too. There's at least a good high noon from Eli coming out. He's holding it for a long time. That's good. Takes extra pressure, and BAME1 actually gets stunned out. Barely gets the mines off.
Yeah, he barely does get the mines off. He was at the end found out just before he could do something by Pure Irish, but at least the mines do get Freyu. Fall and Pure Irish now moving forward, but it is Keiju who gets Levitate and Fall out of commission on the back of what seemed like a bit of a misplaced ultimate by Pure Irish. So OTPog still with the pressure, and it is still working for them.
Yeah, they're definitely getting a lot of value out of this one so far. 5 minutes and 10 on the clock, and they're still rolling at the speed of sound. Turret on the cart. It's the well, the budget tank strat, really, where you have the budget pirate ship almost with the Brigitte 2, the mini sail. The one-man sloop is what we call it, right?
It's just a one-man sloop, definitely, and it's going into harbor as BAME1 fan brings in the cannonball to start it off. He has to pull back a bit. You do see the ultimate coming out from the Orisa, and now a push forward from the Angry Titans. File takes FIFA leg. Pure Irish leading the charge here, but they pull back rather than pursuing any further on the side of the Angry Titans. So OTPog still have that BAME1 fan, still have that wrecking ball in the back line, and this time he gets caught out, walled off, and executed by Eli at the end of it all.
It's going to be a tough order to come back into this as OTPog. Now we're getting into the more closed space. This is where Angry Titans should be looking very good. And so far they are. They're going to have the ultimates to work with soon too, especially that Blizzard's going to be huge. But look at that bank from OTPog. If they get value out of even half those ultimates, this could be over in a very swift manner.
You are right. The Nano Blade alone could just end this. And there it goes, actually. The Blade is in. The Nano is as well. BAME1 fan jumps in to finish Levitate. BAME1 fan has that minefield up. Gets Pure Irish there as well. So Pendrix doing a lot of damage. But at the end of it all, it is the Angry Titans unable to deal with the rest of OTPog as they push in. And that means that the payload is free once again. We are rolling towards the throne room to pay homage to the king of Eichenwalde.
FIFO on the prowl on the left side of the spawn door. Comes out, almost gets crossed, at least a nice right click, and now Eli is trying to do something with a duplicate blade, but it's not enough. The kills are coming out. FIFO is just stuck in the corner, and Eli is trying to get it back.
You say that it is not enough, but Eli takes down 3 in the back of it. Freyu just secures people. Like BAME1 fan is still there, but there's a beam from Eli. Eli is just coming back like the archangel he is named for, and making sure that the rest of this game is not fully over, but it was just inches away. That was beautiful.
It was really close, and we're definitely talking hand lengths at that point, and that's not okay if you are OTPog. But they're gonna still be able to try again. Are away from quite some ultimates, and Kaiju now over to the Junkrat, and FIFO Lex over to the Zarya. It'll be a very different dynamic. The bubbles onto the Wrecking Ball, the general nade pressure, but Pendrix is not going to be so lucky.
Pendrix did not get the bubble that he needed as Eli comes in from the side. Indeed, now you do see another Orisa ultimate. BAME1 fan, though, still there to disrupt any setup that the Angry Titans are trying to do. Keiju is eating it up on the Junkrat. So right now, 2 minutes on the clock. After that scare, it looks like Angry Titans really want to dig in here.
Yeah, still to be a bit worried about the back cap, but they're holding far enough back that they should be able to stop the card if it starts rolling again. Now we're going to look at what OTPog can actually do. They're coming up very close to that Nano Blade. They're actually also closing up onto a tire, but they still have to get in here first. And with all the pressure the Angry Titans are able to push out, it's a long shot to attack this way, but there's Pendrix. He's ready.
Yeah, the Nano Blade is there, but in the middle of a rally, there's a Blizzard coming out for the defense as well. So there goes your Nano Blade. Foul, just waiting for Pendrix to press that button yet again. I would put that down to some good old trekking. You do see a copied minefield. Eli making sure that there's some space for the Angry Titans to work with, and he's going in for more, just firing in actually a second minefield, if I saw that correctly. So that was beautifully played on the side of Eli and the rest of the Angry Titans as they push out and push back. 1 minute and 12 on the clock, and right now OTPog are feeling the pressure.
Yeah, and as much as it's obviously a team game, you do definitely want to look out for the individual players as well. Eli has been a shine-out performance on this team so far. Freyu as well, and even Pure Iris and Crocs at times. It's really some of the players like Foul and Levitate that fall short sometimes.
Minefield and Tire both out of it. Tire seems to be dealt with. The minefield is halfway, and you do see that the Gravitic Flux comes out from Pure Irish, takes Bane one fan, but it's not enough. Pendrix and Keiju still up on their Levitate. Boops away Pendrick, away from that point, as Bane one fan's mines finally claim the life of Eli. But look at the way they are bunkered down on the Angry Titan side here. Pendrix trying to inch forward this payload, has to pull back because there's just too much damage in the air, and you can feel it cooling in the air tonight as it's 20 seconds still on the clock, and once again OTPog have to pull back and at least soft reset before going in. I say that as they do. I'm sorry. Pendrix with another one. Another blade takes number one out, but goes down. A lot of damage coming up. Pure Irish with a double kill and is looking for further targets. Goes for number 3 on the accretion, and that's it. Angry Titans, against the odds and against a lot of pressure, are able to withstand just that and are able to just clutch it up. 0-2. We're waiting for the flip. If the attack is not as decisive as we've seen the last little bit of defense here from the Angry Titans, they are in big trouble, man of class.
They really are, because the areas of the map they were doing well on was last point. And if you're attacking, you don't start on last point. You have to go through the first 2 first, and that was not the area where Angry Titans really shone. I'm not saying I'm necessarily worried for them, but it's definitely an uphill battle for them so far against this composition of OTPog. And I was talking about this a little bit before that last fight started, and we always talk about teams and the organizations and the brands, etc., what it's all about. But in reality, if you're not looking at a contender spot guaranteed next year, if you're not looking at anything like that, all these players are most likely going to be looking to maybe get picked up by another team. If Contenders players move up to Overwatch League, and these players want to move up to Contenders. So as much as I want to talk about Angry Titans, I kind of also just want to talk about, the individuals. Eli doing so well in the DPS role. Crocs and Pure Irish definitely playing well together in a tank duo. And Freyu has always been a staple in the flex support roster. It's really Fall and Levitate that I wouldn't say holding the team back right now, but they're under so much pressure that they just cannot really get enough done. And when you look at, pickups for your next Contenders roster, you could look at players.
Yeah, you're right. And there's one thing I want to say, though. You made a point about Crocs and Pure Irish being a good good tank roster. As much as it pains me to say so, because I really like both of them very much, I think Pure Irish is pulling his weight a little bit better than Crocs in most of these situations, though. But that is just a quick aside as Eli takes Cage's tower out. We see Angry Titans now moving forward, moving inwards. Eli once again with that laser. They want to get Pendrix out of commission as far as possible. That way they can pull in. They do just that. Bane fan goes down as well. And now the Angry Titans are moving relentlessly forward. They want to have a quick cap. They want to have a quick point A and point B in order to have enough time on point C to equalize or even overtake what OTPog has shown us in the first half of this match.
Yeah, and of course, all you have to do is complete the map. I mean, that's essentially what it is. I mean, it's like 1 hand length less or something, like a few point meters, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they do actually basically have to complete it. So 5 minutes 20 on point B is a good start to do that with. A lot of momentum with that. And this is the point where they're likely going to struggle the most because of all that mobility that's available here for OTPog. If they can get BAME 1 Fan and Pendrix especially under control in their movement, this could be a very quick cap, but those are the ones they need to watch out for.
Well, you also have to watch out for the surprise FIFA leg, right? That is a Roadhog you cannot underestimate, and especially a Roadhog you don't want to underestimate coming out from an off angle, because we've seen what he can do when left alone. Pure Irish, good start onto Keiju. Eli is ready with that copy and is looking for a target, but decides not to go for it on themselves because he most likely knows that the rest of OTPog is on top of this bridge. Now, coming around the last corner towards the gate is that payload, and the rest of the Angry Titans. There's a Nano Blade. Pendrix takes down Pure Irish, goes for Freyu, goes for number 3 as Crocs goes down, has number 4 onto Foul, and that is just what we've seen this entire time. That is a pentakill for Pendrix.
Yeah, Pendrix has definitely been showing up with the blades tonight. As much as people keep saying, oh, Genji's not really in the meta right now, Pendrix is showing them otherwise. Might also just be the matchup right now. Like, they're really having trouble dealing with that Genji. But, you know, it's not always the case of just saying, an easy saying, Genji's out of it. Because we always talk about Overwatch as that game where you could almost play everything, not all the time, but you can make it work. Plenty of teams show it, and Pendrix is making good showing of that as well. If you need a Genji player for your team, I say once again, Pendrix is probably available.
Most likely. So all you Contenders watchers out there, maybe you should start scouting over here as OTPog jumps in. Keiju's turret takes down Fal. That was a lot of damage on the back of BAME 1 Fan's pile driver there, and I really did like that engagement. The minefield maybe a bit much, but at least it gives you the opportunity to just funnel the entirety of Angry Titans in, and that's exactly what they're going to try. The Graphitic Flux only tilts up the OTPs for a little bit, but has not enough impact to be actually dangerous. Now this time in the back line we see Eli with a copy of the Brigitte, comes in and comes into the back line of OTP, has the rally and is trying to save the rest of the Angry Titans from what I would say is a brutal destiny. There's the Nano, there's the Blade, launched too late, and Fal just takes it out with a melee. I don't know why he launched that Blade there, man of class, but that wasn't a good idea.
Sometimes you can just yell winnable, and with a nano boost you're actually quite tanky as a Genji still, but unfortunately they were too clumped up in that hall. They were ready for everything that came at them, and they had already taken out a few. Now we will see one more defensive attempt here on this second point. Will someone get booped off? It doesn't look like it, barely.
There's a May wall coming in, and an ultimate comes out from Crocs as well, as we do see the whole Hawk from FIFA leg. They're trying to just push them away here, push the Angry Titans away from the control point, but at the end of the day it is not enough. Coming in from two sides did not work out for them this time around, and this time I must say Fal's wall was instrumental in stopping that play.
It really was, but so are all these accretions and halts from Pure Irish and Crocs. They're really disabling the right players at the right time. Pendrix has been disabled by those halts especially so many times, and now this Gravitic Flux is ready. Who are you going to get with that Pure Irish? I think they want to go for the tanks again.
Now moving up, Pure Irish once again with the Gravitic Flux, gets hooked away, so that was cancelled. The slam portion did not happen this time around. Eli on the sideline is in a dangerous position, but has that copy and has enough mobility to try and get out of it. I say that, and BAME 1 Fan just rains down on them, takes Eli out of commission. Keiju has Fal already back in spawn, and we do see Angry Titans did not have the momentum to close this one out just yet.
Oh, Crocs takes down Pendrix late there. That's actually quite a good shot there. Gets the last melee on them, and now we'll actually get a Reinhardt out of FIFA Lex. They've actually been quite flexible, FIFA flexible today, and it's going to be a yeah. I mean, come on, that was an easy one, right? We'll be seeing if they're gonna stick on that for long. They swapped up a lot on their attack as well, and didn't get much out of those swaps. So maybe this one is a better one. A shield definitely helps you in the defense here.
A shield does help you on the defensive side, and I think Fifolek now realize, and the rest of OTPog now realize, that there is really a lot of damage flying around. This time though, Pendrick's flying around. He is looking for some targets. Already did a lot of damage before actually securing the first kill. Pure Irish and Levitate are going down. Keiju onto Freyu at the end of it all, and we do see Foul once again way too far ahead, gets stalled out as the rest of the Angry Titans wanted to come out of spawn, maybe give some back pressure, but right now they have to wait for their mate to come back in.
Yeah, it will definitely be a very tough push still for Angry Titans. 1.5 minutes. They have way more ultimates in the bank, but with that minefield, with the tire, they still have to be so careful not to just get picked off that easily. And Quadra already throws it ready for the sustain too.
There's the tire coming in. Same thing for the rally. Keiju waiting for a long time before coming in.
Getting it.
That was it. At the end of the day, Crocs' ultimate was disabled by the tire, but that was just because there was so much damage coming towards the tire. That was the only thing you realistically could get. Eli has the copy. The Blizzard did not really do what it surprisingly or what it was set out to be. Now Eli with the copy on the Reinhardt goes in, is being trapped though, but a lot of damage from the Angry Titans forward makes sure that there is some room to move. Eli's copy may not have been as instrumental as we've seen in the past, but it was certainly the right distraction for the rest of the Titans to move in here.
Yeah, and then now they're going to have barely any resources to finish this one out. The rally came from Levitate, but it's not enough. If Pendrix has a nano on him, just slashes and dashes and slices through them. He's got a blade ready as well. Angry Titans looks to be evicted from this point for the time being, but it's one fight. It's going to come down to that, and Pendrix has the blade ready.
Pendrix does have the blade. Fifolek very close to the shatter as well. So at that point, you just prepare the platter and then just go through it with a butter knife. So it's 10 seconds. The question is, can they actually touch, or are they just...
They don't have skill resources. So they have nothing ready, Ollie. Like they maybe get a flux at some point online, but there's so much online here for the defense. OTPog in a great position to finish it out.
Yeah, it is the overtime wait this time running, but Pendrix now has the blade, gets caught out by Eli, but Bane Fan is there to stop Croc. This time around, OTP looking pretty good as Keiju takes down a double kill, and it is not looking good for the Titans. OTP stopping it right here, and we are going into a round 3, I think. No, actually, they didn't even...
No, we were done. We're done. We're going to map 4. We're not done with the series. We're done with the map, just to clarify. Now, OTPog goes up with a 2-1 in the series, and that makes it so much harder. Angry Titans starting to lose their hope to stay in trials, and OTPog really wanting to ruin that. Remember, OTPog cannot really get anything out of this, other than winning a series against Angry Titans. All that matters about this match for, the standings is that Angry Titans can still stay in trials, be above Vasta. Vasta playing against Ex-Oblivion. As good as Vasta can be, I think a lot of us do expect that to go the way of Ex-Oblivion. So Angry Titans they needed to win this series, and they still need to. They still can. We're only at map 4, but it's becoming harder and harder. You see the playstyle of OTPog really being a problem in the way that some might say cheese it out, but they're definitely adapting as well. Like, they're making swaps. It's not just a one-trick team. Yeah. There's a few on them. Like, Pendrix has definitely only been playing the Genji so far. Invin is usually on the Ana. Quadra almost always on the Birgitte. Bame One Fan always on the ball. But Fifolex, Kaiju, there are adaptations that they're making that are finding value, and that is like the scary part. When you think you know what they're running, and then they start flexing too, then it becomes a whole nother story to prep for. And Angry Titans just has not been able to do that prep with all the other teams. They're already playing a very different meta from them.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one way of looking at it. I personally think the Angry Titans are just getting faced a little bit too easy by the aggression, by the pressure that OTPog are firing in. The swaps, definitely the way that the OTPog team is not just a pure one-trick pony team. The entire discussion around team composition, I don't think it even applies here. I think most of what this is just pure pressure advantage, because OTPog has the cojones to go forward, and Angry Titans, whenever they need to do it, they don't.
No, they really don't. We're going to be seeing the map of Rialto being loaded up here any moment in time. It will be going to beautiful Italy to try and get some sunshine in the life of the Angry Titans. But OTPog could just close out the series over here. I mean, this is a map that, again, it can actually work quite well for Angry Titans. It's maybe even a little bit better than Eichenwalde in that sense, with the lack of certain pressure points that you can pull out. I mean, if we talk about pressure, Rialto is a map where you have very linear pressure most of the time. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. And when they're starting on defense, they're not showing any really different looks. Levitate starting on the Mercy. Might not just want to get caught out on that Brigitte a lot of the time, so it's going to be flying with Eli most of all. And then Freyu helping out the tanks on the front line together with Foul. So there is a nice split between them. It's not as static and as centralized as it was on the earlier maps. And that's Angry Titans slowly adapting to this series, which is a good thing to see.
Does make sense. We know Levitate's Mercy is pretty good. So that could just be the difference that they could use. All in all, right now, OTPog, no changes, no surprises there as they come out of the gate. Same setup, same stuff, different day, as they say. Invin goes low here as a lot of shots are coming up towards the towards the OTPog from the Angry Titans, but already you do see they are not holding this in choke very well, getting pushed hard as Pendrix comes in from the side, looks to finish Foul, finishes Crocs immediately afterwards. Keiju is just there, and at this point Pendrix finds Freyu before they can even properly respond. So you do see, once again, it's the pressure, it's the forward movement, it's the momentum.
At least I can give Levitate something. They didn't really die all that early, and they still haven't died. Pendrix now might get caught out on this Genji, using the movement very nicely to get back out, waiting for the dash cooldown. And now they're going to have to try and defend this first objective. Almost getting booped off by BAME1 Fan 1, but they're able to hold on for a little bit.
Now moving up, BAME number 1 Fan is very low, gets accretioned out and gets caught on the back of that. Very nicely done by both Crocs and Pure Irish. This tank line, despite everything Angry Titans have to endure, this tank line is just solid as a rock.
Yeah, and around that archway is definitely where it shines even more, where you get so much more value out of the double barrier, where it's so much harder to get around it. And this might be a reason why they could full hold. Those earlier points in this first objective are a bit trickier to hold on to. And all they have to do now is make sure it doesn't get backcapped. BAME1 Fan was trying for a little bit, but the forward hold wasn't enough. And what an accretion!
The accretion onto that blade just destroys the dreams. No, it does not fully. The air support immediately been taken out as Eli and Levitate just get sliced up here. You can put them onto a piece of bread. They are thin and delicious. Now Pendrix and Fifoleg move up further as they take away the Angry Titans' front line. And this time around, this is looking very good. OTPog just playing what they play, and Angry Titans, not entirely sure if they're still playing at all.
No, I mean, they definitely are. The problem there was that they thought maybe Pendrix had already used their dash. That's what Genjis do a lot of the time, but Pendrix was playing that to perfection in terms of patience. Almost got frozen and then dashes straight out of the blizzard into Eli and Levitate and got that double kill. If that doesn't happen, it's a very different fight, but Pendrix knows how to play this hero so well, and it's already halfway through the next blade. The cooldowns are just, it's basically a cooldown at this stage, it looks like.
Oh, people like being lifted up here, but the graphitic flux gets down there on the back of that May wall. Nice play, a nice combination play as Eli comes in and actually just confirms the kill. We do see OTPog, they're still moving forward as Keiju takes Crocs from the side. BAME1 Fan has a lot of room to maneuver and uses that freely, if you so will, as Eli and Crocs, who are back in the front line, get some pile driven into them. Now Keiju very far forward. That was really, really ballsy from his side.
It really was, and Keiju now has to try and get some value out of that gun, but it's not matters if Pendrix just starts slicing them up. Only this is an amazing blade, and Pendrix does it again. Oh no. How can you even play against it for your Angry Titans? It just keeps happening. And even if you have the Blizzard ready, half the time you can't even react to it in time. Foul.
Call your local deli. You can now order thinly sliced and perfectly minced Angry Titans to get on any type of rye bread you want.
Angry Titans. I thought that was a German brand, but it looks like they're turning into sushi now. Oh no, this is going to be BAME1 fan trying to get in, but the Blizzard is coming out. This is probably a beginning of a good hold for Angry Titans, but it's still so tough. We see all those shots from the Torbjorn hitting Kaiju, just left-clicking their way to victory at this stage, and BAME1 fan might go down. But it's only the beginning of a one soft reset. 3 minutes 40 on the clock, plenty of time to get into third.
I mean, point 3 Rialto is such a defensible position, such
really
a good place to defend that. So the Angry Titans now may catch a break, but once again, it takes them such a long time to find some place to hold on to. But they also have to hold on to another nearly 3.5 minutes here, Man of Glass. Will they be able to do that?
I mean, to be fair, we thought the same thing about Eichenwalde third, and that didn't go well. I mean, it went very well in the end, but they couldn't cap it. And the defense right now is just being broken open. The slams are there. The finishes are off. Ollie, this is a disaster for Angry Titans.
Absolutely is. You just see them fall left and right. BAME1 fan, once again, has no contest in the airspace. Eli and Levitate just can't keep up the deal with that pesky ball on their own. Fifoleg has that whole hog, is standing near the spawn point, and is just coming in there like the sneaky little piglet he is. The blade comes in from Pendrix, takes down 3, and even the accretion, while once again beautifully played, will not be able to stop this. Pure Irish was near the point, but gets booped up by a pile driver, and at that point you just leave it. That's it.
Yeah, definitely. And now we're going to the other round, the attacking round for Angry Titans. 2 minutes 39 a time bank, but they can't even look at the time bank. All they have to first of all even complete the map in the first place. They haven't been able to do it on Eichenwalde. They weren't able to do it on Hanamura.
Yeah,
maybe they could do it on Rialto. They have been making some adaptations, but this is again one of those maps where OTPog just steamball through it. And while they couldn't complete Eichenwalde, they looked very good on this one.
Steamball is, by the way, my favorite Wrecking Ball skin. I'm still waiting for that to happen. Just like a big train coming in. But we will see how
that, right?
Yeah, something like that. Like a full steampunk version of that ball. That would be absolutely great. I mean, they have the submarine skin, so that's the closest thing I would say. Now, on the attacking side, this time, Fal goes on the Sombra. We do see a bit more mobility coming out of Angry Titans if they stick to this composition. The defensive side, no surprises here. Yet again, OTPog have that name for a reason. But they are looking pretty good. You know, the way that they can flank out Angry Titans so far, I don't think that is going to change unless the tempo dramatically changes here for Angry Titans.
It's funny, right? We talk about OTPog, like we know what they're going to run because they called OTPog, but essentially sort of every team runs the same combination of 6 to 8 heroes the entire time now. So why don't we're not calling them OTPog, right? Like it's really funny. It's a different combination. We make a big deal out of it. While the playstyle isn't actually that different than what's happening generally speaking. Now we will see if BAME1 fan, FIFOlex, Pendrix, Kaiju, Invin, and Quad are able to hold off Angry Titans before they complete the map and win out this series, destroying Angry Titans' dreams of staying in trials.
That would just be very painful for one of the staples of Contenders Trials, the Angry Titans. They had some changes in their roster, but we still wish that they can, you know, stay with us for a while longer. On the other hand, Angry OTPog, very, very entertaining so far. Keiju and Pendrix find dead targets. Freyu reciprocates there, and Fifoleg on the other side takes down Freyu. That is just the story of it all. Freyu is always there, takes a kill, takes 2, at the end of it all goes down because there's no one left to just, well, protect him, because everything in front of Freyu dies most of the time before Freyu can just close out the deals.
Angry Titans are starting to start rolling it out a bit more. They're starting to go for picks and starting to keep fighting. Fouls now back on the Sombra. What a denial. Big EMP. BAME1 fan down with there's the blade from Pendrix.
It's hacked though. The blade is there, but the hack comes through. So Pendrix is grounded right there. Goes for Eli. Wants to get that done. But at the end of the day, the sticky bombs are there. So is the laser. Eli making the best of the situation. That hack, lifesaver. Good job, Fal.
Yeah, then Foul gets hooked. It's almost like you wanted him to die, Ollie. It's almost like you wanted it to happen. Flex on the flank. They need to watch for Flex on the flank though. It's just insane. And now Eli is going to try and do something, gets taken out before they can do anything, even on the snipes. And the defense is good.
The defense is really good. The Molten Core comes out. The whole hog is there. So Leg and Keiju just making a lot of space. Like they want to build a skyscraper over there. Crocs resets right there. Bame fan. Yes, that part of time I don't fully understand, but I guess that was an idea that he had before Crocs just jumped down at the end of it all.
Yeah, kind of keep fighting at some point, and now Angry Titans with 1.5 minutes get an opening pick on Pendrix. That's actually a big deal, even though they don't have the blade. It makes a lot of space because it denies some of the backline pressure they've been dealing with. Nice corner checks as well, making sure they can stay in that little room on the side. And now they're able to slowly move forward, but Flex comes from behind Ollie. The hook's there.
The hook's there, the hook's coming. You do see that there is a lot of delay from the rally that Quad already sent in. They copied Eli with a rally of their own at that point. They're just trying to keep that Brigitte versus Brigitte thing alive. At the end of the day, it is pure Irish that takes the hard end of the stick here as Levitate gets Pendrix on the side. Right now, the Angry Titans a little bit up in the body count. 45 seconds on the clock, though. They have lost a lot of time. There's still a minefield up there, and there is still a Wrecking Ball there as well. Gets stopped by Foul. Angry Titans still moving, but if OTPog decide to defend here under the bridge, which rarely happens, they can just close it up right here and there.
Yeah, it could very well be a point cap here. The Molten Core is out. It's underneath it. The Blizzard tries to counter it. It doesn't quite freeze up the Molten Core or the other way around, but it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade so far.
Ooh, Eli is able to take Pendrix as they tried to clamber over the rooftop. Fame #1 fan is already down, but there's a whole hog. The whole hog cannot be completely eaten by pure Irish. They are still fighting it out as the overtime week is coming. Now it is a question of, are they just doing this for time? No, there's the blade. The blade comes in, and already Fall is down. Crocs is down. Fleek finds pure Irish on the side as Keiju clears out Freyu, and this should be it. Levitate will not be able to touch this, and that's all he wrote. The fat lady is singing, and I can hear the dulcet tone.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Angry Titans has to go down this way. 3-1 for OTPog, and they played like it. This was not necessarily Angry Titans underperforming. This was Pendrix just popping off. No blades to be cancelled. There were a few on Eichenwalde, a few on Rialto, like a few on Hanamura here and there that got denied. But every single time that Nanoblade came up, you saw Angry Titans having to work way too hard. And even when they got Pendrix, they sometimes still got taken out by the rest of OTPog. What a combination of players, and it's actually looking like a fairly decent meta for them in terms of the heroes that are good right now. I would have liked to see them maybe go up to Contenders, but with the teams in this group, that was always going to be hard ask. One of those teams we'll see after the break when we go back to Old and Bored versus VSM. But first, gonna throw to a quick break before we have an interview with one of the players from OTPog.
Yes, see you there. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here at the Monkey Bubble YouTube channel. We just saw OTPog against the odds, at least on paper, take down Angry Titans in what I would say was very impressive. And the most impressive, or one of the most impressive parts of that performance is here with us. It's a DPS player. It's the Genji One Trick. It is the one and only Master Chef. It is Pendrix. Hello.
Hello, no.
So you've had some time swinging your blade there today. Let's just immediately jump in on there. And why did you get all that space? How did that happen?
Obviously, my tanks were doing a great job at like distracting the enemy team, and I mean they had quite an annoying comp to play Genji into. But if you get like good movement and stuff, you can make it work.
Yeah, we saw you on Rialto, just basically hugging the side of that bridge and then dashing out. I don't think I've ever seen that before. That was beautiful, I gotta say.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely the intricate Genji movement. I play a lot of those parkour maps, trying to get around it, making sure you don't die, don't fall into the lava. But yeah, that's very different to do it in that environment where you just keep on dying and resetting. In a competitive match, it's a bit trickier. So, I mean, Ollie already alluded to a little bit, and it's probably, we talk about it all the time, the OTPog, the one-trick player type of thing, but you guys have definitely moved on from that, just only playing the same heroes all the time. Would you say that that's definitely been something you've been planning for a while, and that's trying to finally coming to fruition a little bit for that flexibility?
I mean, I feel like we keep shoving the same thing, but we obviously try to adjust it like from time to time. And for example, on Eichenwalde, on the last point, like our Hog didn't feel like he was getting that much value, so he decided to play some Rhine, just to like shield off some of that spam. And I think we still stick to the one trick thingy though, as much as we can.
Yeah, it's more of the we try it, but if there's really something that it's over, because there's always a factor of like how much of a counter percentage are you willing to live with, and that's probably then just a little bit too much to leave the value percentage. Is there anything you're looking forward to like in the near future? Because obviously Trials is over, you guys didn't make it to Contenders, so what's in the future for OTPog right now?
We're gonna play in the EBC regional soon, I believe, starting on Monday, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we wanted to play Soultech today, but we couldn't because we had this match. And yeah, otherwise I don't really know.
Yeah. So there's it's always a question like what's gonna happen now, and we also have the question marks. Don't get me wrong. We're also like, okay, so last Trials weekend then, so you're not the only ones, but we hope there's more stuff being organized that you guys can take part in too, because I'm sure otherwise the competitive itch will start to burn.
Yeah.
Yeah, the off season is long and usually means the death to many teams. So I don't hope that OTPog will have to suffer the same fate actually. So is there anything you would like to say to the many people who have come out to hype you up in chat, you and the rest of your team, or maybe the team itself, and any closing remarks from your end?
I kind of want to apologize. Like, I'm not sure. I don't think it was necessarily our fault for the first map. Like, we kept having DCs and lost like a few ults, and basically, I don't want to say we only lost because of that, but I think that was a big part of it. And yeah, like we probably could have done better. We had some hard time starting, but whenever we got started, we just like played it well, and ended up winning.
So you're basically trying to apologize for the match lasting a bit longer because of that one map.
Yeah, and obviously the waiting time.
There was the waiting time. So to briefly clarify, like Pendrix just apologizing here, but I think most of the waiting time had to do with a larger issue. You weren't the only team dealing with it, as was notified in the I think the Contenders Discord. But it was definitely a little bit of a wait, but we got through it, Pendrix. And thank you, of course, for talking to us. Thank you for playing the game so beautifully, and we hope to see you in the future because I can get some Genji blades every now and then. I like them as long as they don't happen every game. I'm good with it.
Yeah, there's a few for your highlight reel in there. So good luck in the EBC Major, ladies and gentlemen out there. We are going to set up the next game for you, which is going to be VSM versus Oldenburg. We will be back in roughly 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere, please. Hello, and we are back. You are watching the Overwatch Contenders Trials Europe, Middle East, and Africa here on Monkey Bubble on the YouTube channel. My name is Yoli Monster. With me is the man of class, and we are getting ready for Old and Bored as they take on VSM or the other way around. Man of class. These teams are very, very different and very, very far away from each other, both on paper and in the way that they play. Can you give us a quick rundown of what to expect here?
On the board is that team that got a map win against Eichenwalde. I think there might have been the only one. Maybe there was another team that got one, but like they are the ones that are in second place right now, guaranteed to go to contenders with EXO. And VSM is a team that has nothing to lose, nothing to gain. So they can play all out and have fun with it, but so can Old and Bored. Like, this match has zero implications. So what that means, at least for a team format, is that the teams can do whatever they want. And then we can start talking about, okay, if the result doesn't matter, then the gameplay of the players will. Because any of these players could potentially be picked up or, moving up to a different roster if they want to, especially on VSM, when you're not getting to trials anymore with contenders. You got to show off your own skill as much as possible. That if roster swaps happen, maybe you're one under consideration for trials for teams, maybe get up there, and then anything can happen. And there's definitely players on that roster that have that potential.
Yeah, let's look at the roster for a bit. And you alluded to it. There are some players on VSM's roster that just scream, please pick me up for contenders. I mean, looking at guys like Moose, Sir Gibson, Love is in there, Ruby to a certain extent, but I think the first three named, Love, Sir Gibson, and Moose, are definitely people that I would have expected would either already be on a contenders roster or will be very soon.
And a lot of it also for these players has to do with their team history, their player history. A lot of them have been in contenders already. Love and Moose have especially been. But when you look at some of the other players that are a bit, I won't say newer to the scene, but are a bit newer to a higher level of play, players like Noctis and Blur, it is becoming a bit of one of those discussions of saying, they have to at some point have that breakout team, find that one roster that really gels with them properly. And so far in this week, that hasn't been VSM. It's not that they've been playing terribly, but for instance, yesterday they played against Eichenwalde. EXO could just play everyone on a different role than they normally play, and I'll just like main tank to off tank and like main tank on DPS or something. So like it was really, they were really being memed on, as we say, they were being clowned on, and it cannot really feel good if you're VSM. So I hope that today at least they can have a little bit of a better experience, not have that sour taste of yesterday in their mouth, and just show what they can actually do. Because Old and Bored, just like Eichenwalde, is a solid roster. It's not, quite as solid. EXO of course did win that game, but it's still up there. It's still going to contenders in a few weeks. So if you can have a good performance against that, maybe those players see you, maybe some coaches, some scouts see you, and there could definitely be a possibility to move up in the world. That is where Path to Pro is for. It's not only for teams to move up, but it's for players to get there. Because last time I checked, Overwatch League, not a place where players get picked up as a full six-man roster.
No, that is right. And the reason why I'm snickering to myself before we move on and take a bit of a closer look at Old and Bored's roster is the moment they launched into this game, they already lost one of their players. And when asked, what happened to your player, they said they went to a burger restaurant, they want some ketchup and mustard on that thing, and they wanted to get it before it was closed. Absolutely fantastic. So, both of these teams essentially more or less pick-up groups, headed off by Caffey, the only one who survived the Monkey Bubble Banana Brawl, or one of the people who survived the Monkey Bubble Banana Brawl and decided to actually play this thing out. They picked up Danye, Boga, Explorer, and Barretts. Those are names that are well known, of course, and names that are well established in this scene here in the trials and in contenders as well.
Yeah, it looks like they might actually be going into the map here. Map Oasis City Center, same map, different point to start off with. It's it's going to be an interesting one. I'm very much looking forward to this, because if we know anything about VSM, it's that they have a roster with potential, but in their last games, it didn't seem like they had a roster that was certain about what they wanted to do. They kept swapping up a lot of heroes, a lot of the ways they played around them, and that's never really a good thing when you talk about teams for in terms of consistency. Because if you never play the same thing, if you never play the same way, if you don't really develop your style, then it's always going to be tough to get better as a unit. And Old and Board doesn't really have that issue. They've been playing this same lineup of 6 players and the same heroes most of the time as well. For, I mean, not for a long time, but at least in a very confident way, and been winning most of their games.
They have, and they are going into this with you know, in a way that we kind of expected when this split started. They just want to have some fun with it. They play very hard and very, very fast Overwatch, all in all. But at the end of the day, you do see some very good individual players who are still, you know, while they play a very confident game, they're still just cobbled together. You can't really speak of any team cohesion, I think, in this place. Now, though, moving into the first point, you already see a bit of high ground set up for the VSM roster, and Old and Board are now coming in with the counter pressure. Blur already going down as Danye on that soldier is looking for their targets, and you don't want Danye to have too much space. Ding finds Love in the sideline, Cafe on the back line onto Noctis, and Old and Board are looking like they want to have the same kind of pace that we expect from them, that we've seen from them before, and it seems to be working out just fine, Man of Class.
Yeah, they're not having any trouble right now. VSM under so much pressure from all the sides that, you know, you can be under pressure on. They're playing a more mobile composition, but that's not going to save any of them. Ruby takes down Explorer late, though. That might be a good engagement opportunity for VSM here. If they can just speedily come in with a mobility composition, they should be able to.
They should be, and it looks like they are going for a very hard counter press. Moose already under some pressure. Same thing goes for Blur here, but the fight on the point is still on the way. Boger has to pull back for the side of Old and Board as VSM are moving in with a little more force than expected. Moose does lose the mech, so that means a lot less meat on the table, if you so will. And we right with Cafe and Danye. Danye now fires in the visor, gets Love out of commission, looks for further targets, but we do see VSM. They have the writing on the wall already in their side, and they pull back.
Yeah, nice engagement attempt here for VSM, but they cannot quite get the hold of where Old and Board are holding. And that's kind of the problem when you run these mobility compositions against each other. If the one is fast and the other is just as fast, if they keep running away, you'll never catch him.
You never do. Now Boga fires in the minefield. There's a Transcendence coming out as well as Ding fires his in. Ruby responds with a Transcendence of their own. Sir Gibson onto Explorer. So now VSM, they want to get that momentum in. They do that with a very good copy bomb from Sir Gibson. Noxus fires it in onto Barrett. Boga goes down as well. And VSM take the point at 82%.
You can see that veteran experience coming back in. We know from all these players, they've been around for a long time. Ruby actually put it in their team sheet. They're like, yeah, I was good 3 years ago, and now I just try. I don't really get anything anywhere. But you can still see they're putting out the work as Zenyatta, you know, keeping up with Ding in terms of Transcendence charge. Actually love taking Ding down here. Might get Ruby ahead of it. And that's a very good sign. They still have some ultimates left. Self-destruct, rally. They got the sustain. They got the damage. They got the CC. They can put up a fight here.
That's right, Boga already going forward, trying to find that fight, needs to get pushed back though, or needs to pull back because he gets pushed back at that point. Lots of damage coming in onto that Wrecking Ball. Moose has the bomb, will most likely just wait for the right moment to actually fire it out, or just use it as a reset of the mech. We'll see how this fight is going to develop. VSM still in control of the point, and we do see that Old and Board are either reluctant or just very, very patient with the way that they're trying to go in on the right side. Now the move is up. Explorer taking the first steps on towards the point. Love in the back is fighting Cafe, and Cafe already takes down Sir Gibson. And that is a way that you don't want this to go. Danye, another visor, is firing a lot of shots onto Blur, capturing the point. And now is Old and Board as VSM just have to get away from the pressure coming out. Cafe almost was able to get a little bit of a, you know, of a Kobe bomb, as they call it, onto it. At the end of the day, still gets his kill though.
Yeah, definitely gets that out. And now the overtime is ticking away. VSM has to come back in. They have a lot of tools that are close to being ready, especially that minefield, self-destruct, and even the duplicate can stall for a long time, and then Ruby's Transcendence to just finish it off. And actually, they're coming back in. They're getting some kills. It's a 1v1.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Ruby was able to kill Danye as soon as they peeked it out. That is on the back of a very good Discord orb. Now Boga jumps up there with that pile driver, and while Ruby had that ultimate, had that Transcendence up, that still did a lot of damage. There's a copy on the Tracer coming in from Sir Gibson, and VSM have the opportunity to fight this in. There's fights going all around the point as Cappy takes down Blur. Moose is on the side as well, but Boga has that minefield there, makes sure that the momentum cannot go to the side of VSM. The overtime wig still ticking, but ticking down as Love goes likewise, and that is the first round of the first map going to Oldenburg.
And that shows you how close a fight can get. Even if you have all those ultimates ready, you need to still stick them. We've talked about it before in the last series where I said it's not just about the theoretical value, but also about the practical value. How likely are you able to get the value out of it? And in this situation, when both these teams just keep running around, being in all sorts of places around the map, it's super annoying to get those ultimates to find a target. A self-destruct can relatively easily be dodged. A minefield can be played around. A pulse bomb can be dodged. Anything that you really try and do is tough to get value out of. Even a Transcendence, which you think is just an amazing ultimate, there's nothing to counter it in these compositions. Just the fact that your team plays so far apart, and the enemy team does as well, makes it very hard to get the same value that you might, for instance, when it was still the GOATS comp, when everyone's clustered up. So it's definitely not as easy as it used to be in the past. And you can see that even when VSM goes in with about 3 more ultimates than Oldenburg has, they can still not find the targets all the time.
Now we are loading into the second round of this control map. We are going into the what
Gardens.
is this called? Gardens. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I can never remember. I can never remember those those subtitles.
Don't you always think, like, when you go into this map, I wish I had a garden like this? Because I do. I mean, it looks beautiful. Come on.
No, I usually walk around and go, who takes care of all these plants in here? That must be a full-time job for at least 3 people. Now, moving up onto the high ground, VSM moving in, Love very far forward, gets Barrett's actually caught out, goes for the double onto Ding, and this could be a good opener. Love finally gets caught by Cafe, but Moose is there, stops Danye, Cafe gets pulled back, and the capture should go the way that VSM wanted to go, even though Moose is just, Boga is just hanging around there. His life hanging by a thread as he gets killed at the end. But, you know, that was a good start from VSM. Yeah,
definitely good start, and they're starting to show this potential that we know they have. They're starting to show that coherence, and they're very certain about what they want to do. Their composition makes sense against what Oldenburg's doing, because they're mirroring, so why wouldn't it? And they're also getting the execution right. They're really focusing down targets, able to separate targets properly, and not have their backline be as ambushed as it can be by Boger.
Yeah, Boga just tries to jump up onto the high ground, maybe go in with a pile driver, but Noctis just chain slams him away, almost gets slammed out of the bounce there. As Ding takes down Lofter, Gibson is there to pick up Barrett's yet again. Barrett's being the first one to get picked off twice now, and that means usually that Brigitte is standing too far forward. Cafe, Danye, and Ding, though, they are there to close this thing out, to counter cap this thing, actually, and now it's 7% on the clock for Oldenburg, and we'll see if this is going to stay green.
Yeah, and after a series where it was very off meta, so to speak, it's very nice to see both of these teams go very much with the composition that we sort of wouldn't say know and love, but that we're very familiar with at this stage. It's been called various things. We've heard hamster feet. We've heard some weird scientific terms. We've heard speed and power. We've heard definitely a lot of things. And I don't really know what I want to go with in the end, but for now, I just like watching it, Ollie.
I do like watching it, and it is especially the speed and the power that impresses me. What also impressed me was that Boga had nowhere to go. Gets body blocked, gets picked up, even after that minefield, not a lot to do. There is a graphitic flux coming in from the side. Moose, nice ultimate, is able to actually push Danye away, even though he had that visor. Now, if you can zone out a visoring soldier, you're doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, a Visor Soldier is scary to play against if you don't have any cover or way to disable it. But so far, this has been possible from both teams to do. And VSM in control here so much. Even the ultimates are still in their favor, and they're still controlling the point at 70%.
70% after a 45%, it flipped, so a bit quicker than their opponents were able to do that. Love a little bit optimistic there with that stick, maybe miscounted the time that the eat was up here for his opponent, for Explorer. Explorer this time has the ultimate. The Graphitic Flux comes down. Moose half HP. The rest of VSM still in that hallway are under a lot of fire as from the side comes Boga. Ding is there as well. Gets Gibson out of commission. Old and Board have retaken the point. It is now ticking up towards the late 50s here. And Cafe is still in the backline. And that will be instrumental for the rest of this entire encounter between VSM and Old and Board. Mark my words.
It really will. I mean, a lot of what we're looking about with these two teams is what are the Wrecking Balls doing to the backlines of the other team together with their Tracer counterparts. Because the Soldier, the supports, and even the Sigma, they're relatively staying a bit further back in order to make sure that they don't get dove. And then it all becomes about which frontline finds more value against the other backline.
Oh, Cafe is there in the backline, gets Ruby yet again, and we do know that Cafe is a fantastic Tracer. I would not go as far as calling him a one-trick, but there's no reason for him to play anything else lately. So, yeah, let's ride with them a bit. As soon as the next engagement is there, maybe our observer can show us some of the movement that Cafe can do in these niche situations. Blur is there though. Make sure that the backline is clear. Now has to go in, and now should be a good opener for Cafe. Good setup for Blur. Good minefield as well. Boga has the minefield of their own. Takes down two. Danya and Ding are there to pick up the rest. And while Cafe is there in the backline, there's no one to touch. Old and Board take the first map. And thank you, Ben Figelo, for these images.
Yeah, it was definitely a moment where you thought VSM could actually take a fight, could do that properly, because they couldn't get value out of the ultimates in the fight before that. Then Old and Board comes back with their ultimate value, with their mines, with the pulse bombs, with everything they still had in the bank. And then VSM just is such a disadvantage on Gardens, which is a lot more close, where the ultimates generally find more value, that it wasn't going to be a hard one to fight back on. It's a 1-0 for Old and Board, but it's definitely not a boring game that gets old quickly.
Yeah, you are you are correct. I mean, Old and Board will most likely, and that is not change up a lot in their playstyle, will not have to change up a lot in their playstyle, and this is going to be a fast game, I think, if this momentum continues to roll.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going into the next map, which is indeed going to be Hanamura. As we knew from the last series, map pools are set, so we already know which one we're going to before we even had to ask, because we knew already a week ago. Super nice, that is. And, I mean, the teams are not really going to swap up a lot. I think that's the moral of this story. It's going to be a VSM starting on the defense here, so we'll see what they come out of spawn with, but it's likely going to be something very similar to what we just saw on Oasis. Might see something different for Moose, or maybe for one of the DPS. That could be a change they make. We know that Moose is a phenomenal Roadhog, for instance, but they've been doing also phenomenally on that Sigma, so it's up to them. And on a map like Hanamura, we saw the last series that static defense can work, but also, you know, it can really get walked around. So you want to set up with a composition that can kind of deal with both, and then you just end up with this meta composition. You know, the ball has been a staple pick for a long time in competitive Overwatch, and what is being played around that all depends on how the patches turn out. And with Widowmaker and Ashe getting some nerfs, with Soldier getting buffed drastically in terms of accuracy, and then Tracer always haven't been a good staple. All you have to do is add a Zenyatta with a Discord Orb on it and something to protect him in the backline, and you've got yourself a composition, and that's what this meta's turned out into. It's a very simple rhetoric, you know, how you get there, but it's still interesting to see that somehow we just end up with this, even though it might not be the most logical option in your head.
Well, let's see how these things are going to turn out. Cafe and the rest of Old and Board are now moving out of the gate. We do see Love is in the back line, gets caught out by Barrett quite early here. Boga on the other side has a lot of damage to contend with as they jump to a backline of their own. Blur is there to stop Boga, but you do see Old and Board. They are just taking the right side, getting rid of Moose here as Danye fires the last right click, and that means a very good start for Old and Board. Now with one tank down and no shield on the or no defense matrix in this type on the field. That means Old and Board have a lot of space to play with. Blur goes down. Love on the other side was able to get Ding out, so that's the good news. But the bad news is Old and Board is on point and VSM nowhere near.
Oh, this is going to be a great part for VSM to, for Old on Board to do. But Moose, Noctis, and Love, they take it back. Only one tick taken. And VSM all of a sudden in control. Ollie, this is the turnaround of the century.
This is the turnaround. I didn't expect that to happen at all. So imagine my surprise when I look up. 3 people are on the floor on the side of Old and Board, and VSM are in control, like you said. There's just one tick down, just a little over one tick that they were able to set up. And you must say the sudden aggression that came out of VSM right there, that's the way you want to play this.
They cannot take their objective. They throw it on the ground. Now Love is trying to go for a pulse bomb to maybe throw it on the ground, looking for that opening into the door. The Cafe is in front of a Noctis already out. Oh, there's Love. Sticks it on the shield. What a reaction!
The way that shield was ran in there from Explorer, that was absolutely crazy. And those are the kind of Jedi powers of prediction that you really want to see here. VSM still not done yet. Love looking for a new opening as Old and Board are moving on towards the point. There's a minefield coming out from Boga, and now moving in is Explorer. Has a lot of self-shield, but Danye is there to take advantage of the space that has been made for him. Sir Gibson with right thing onto Ding and comes in with the visor as a follow-up. Boga is down, and you do see that the rally needs to be faked by Barrett. Barrett is very low, so is Explorer who goes down at the end of the day. VSM clinging onto this, holding on to this, and they're doing a fantastic job of doing so. 2 ticks down though, so the next one of those attacks will be the end for Point A.
Sir Gibson is holding such an amazing position on this high ground. Keeps coming in clutch from this position. Blur can just get back up there as well. They need a little bit of healing. They're probably going to get that going. Maybe, yeah, Sir Gibson throws down that health field, which you always like to see. Trying to get up to that tech fires a bit quicker. Danya's got it online, but there are some other ultimates on the board. Big deal is the difference between Transcendence and Rally on either team. That Transcendence from Ding should be there to counter out, well, anything they want to throw at them. But Love goes down early, so it might not even be necessary.
Ding was just there, responded quickly, made sure that there's no more Tracer, but Ruby actually equalizes, doing the exact same play to the Tracer on the side of Old and Board. Now, there is another visor coming out from Danya. I think that's number 2 on his side already. Barrett takes care of Noctis. This is looking good for Old and Board as the point slowly gets flipped over towards Old and Board side. We are moving on to Point B. VSM need to set up quickly, because otherwise this is going to snowball heavily.
What a hold on Point A, though. I mean, they have to use all their ultimates aside from that minefield that they don't even have online yet to get it. And Blur's just going to match that up. Love is now going over to the Widowmaker. Not sure if that's a great choice or just a choice. Of course, it's far away, so it's hard to get on top of her. Pulse Bomb doesn't get anybody. Gets some damage onto Ruby, but Cafe, that was a nice attempt. I would have liked, if that hits somebody, that just opens up everything.
You are right, but on the other side, that shot from Love onto Cafe was very low. Oh, look at that. The minefield just gets body blocked inside the side room, and now countered by a minefield on Blur's side. Makes some space on the point. VSM holding on to it, trying to make sure that Old and Board have no leg to stand on. There's a Transcendence coming out at this point as the attack intensifies. Cafe looking for Love in the background and is looking for a lot of love. This is like Tinder for experts here as Cafe jumps back onto the point. Boga jumps up, gets Ruby out of commission. 2 ticks already down. Now 1 pair of boots on the point, another pair of boots up in the air next to the point. Sir Gibson fires in. the visor, but so does Danye. Danye with a double kill. Barretts is dead to kill out of Noctis. Love goes down from the Tracer, jumping in, but missing the point is Blur. Round 1 is complete. 2 minutes still on the clock, though. What an attack, and what a hectic defense.
It was mostly on the part of the defense. I definitely think that VSM did a good job. But in that defense, I think we ain't talking about Love, honestly. They were going down a lot of the time very early. Yeah, I know why you're laughing because it's a song reference, but Love was playing, and we started on Oasis earlier on. Every single time they go for that pulse bomb, they did the same trick like twice in this map. They did it on Oasis as well. They try to like jump in, go for the 180 pulse bomb behind Explorer, but it isn't happening. Explorer is just wise to it. So Love's got to try and figure out some new tricks. You know, otherwise these pulse bombs are just not gonna get the value that Cafes are at times. So I would like to see that happen. I would like to see Love get picked off a little bit less because it is happening regardless of the pulse bombs. But if they can clean that up, if that tracer difference grows smaller and smaller, you can already see how close these things get. Maybe VSM still has a chance to take this away, which is not something I think many of us would have thought I was gonna say today.
Yeah, we saw on Wednesday the matchup between Cafe and Kage of I think that's Fox Nihili. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, Wednesday was EXO that they played against.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, no, you're right. But that was a Tracer versus Tracer matchup as well, where Cafe actually didn't get as much space because every time he turned a corner, Kage was there. Now this time there's Love. Love, like you said, is doing a very good job, but it's just not as effective as Cafe on the other side. Same thing goes for the matchup Sir Gibson versus Danye, though I am liking Sir Gibson on the Echo, I must say, in general. Now VSM on the attack. They move in. That's a good accretion coming out from Moose here as they try to put some pressure up. Cafe and Danye are there on the sidelines. Explorer kills off Moose, and that should be the ticket back to the start.
As soon as they walk through those doors, the health bars dropped, like, dramatically. And now they still have Blur and Sir Gibson behind the enemy lines. That first push through is often nothing more than getting this done. Getting Sir Gibson and Blur behind it. Cafe now under so much pressure, tries to go for the mega health pack, gets the orb, will be fine, but they trade off Barretts for Sir Gibson. And what would you rather have, a Brigitte or, well, actually, your support line or an Echo? And I'm guessing your support line's a bit more important, especially if you still got DPS left.
Obo just fires it in there. Love with the sight line goes up. So does Ruby. It is looking good on the defensive side for VSM. But, sorry. Oh, so sorry. That was explosive. Yeah. The cap is coming for VSM on the attack there. But I must say, point B is going to be an entirely different puppy.
It really is, but they have 5.5 minutes. Technically, you'd say they have 3.5 minutes to try and match that time bank of all on board. But if they get just any more time than that, even if they can complete the points, that's already a really big boon for their confidence. I think they've been doing so well today that even if they lose, it's still going to be feeling super good, because I don't think a lot of us, with the scores we saw from the week, we're expecting VSM to do this well against all on board.
No, at least for now, right? Things can still flip in terms of your mental, in terms of your fatigue from this. But right now, VSM doing an absolutely fantastic job. Danye fires in another one of those visors, gets Blur out of commission, goes and tries to take some more on to the rest of VSM as Cafe and Explorer back him up there. Ult and Board on the defensive side, looking solid. 4 minutes and 35 on the clock. And when we look at the ultimate distribution, though, VSM is in the lead.
Ooh, nice opening. Love might actually get that kill in the Cafe too. Gets two. Love in a redemption story. Now they can go in. They have 6 people. Board only has 2, and they have so many ultimates online as well. There's no way that this is not going to be at least a tick, right?
As they say, Love will prevail, and the rest of VSM should make full use of that start. Boga goes down as well. Also to Love yet again. Sir Gibson with a good copy, and now that means they're just going for a very fast setup. Both of the Transcendences are out and about. Sir Gibson does not connect with that bomb, actually gets fired out of the ultimate by Ding, and the fight, Sir Gibson versus Ding, goes to the side of Sir Gibson. Well played. Moose's ultimate takes down Explorer, and we are looking at possibly at least the first tick to be captured as soon as Boga goes down. There it is. The first cap is round, and we have actually a good chance of this closing up to tick 2 or maybe even tick 3. There's a rally coming out from Barrett. Barrett's keeping his team alive for a while. The Reinhardt is now there from Explorer, and this time VSM are no longer there to dance it out. The first tick was capped. The second tick very close to it. 3 minutes and 15 on the clock. Man of Class, what can VSM do in the face of this?
I mean, you really would have liked to get that second tick as well, but unfortunately now they have to still cap 2. I mean, in general, there was a very good fight for them, right? The only problem is that at some point you see Love running into that spawn, just walks into Danye's rockets. Like, those are just the small things that you need to see coming when you play a Tracer against a Soldier. Those Helix rockets are deadly. They do again get an opening pick on a Ding here. Ding's been playing super risky. He will respawn fast, but not fast enough to immediately help out with this fight. Discord Orb advantage might make a difference, but not if Ruby just gets Helixed in the face.
Danye once again with a very good pickup. You already alluded to it as Old and Board are setting up the defense yet again. Love goes down, so does Noctis in that Brigitte versus Brigitte matchup. You do not see it often, but you love to see it regardless. So Gibson just barely gets away from that second barrage from Explorer there, by the way.
Yeah, the horizontal legs doing their work. Of course, Soldier 76 genetically modified to have bionic legs, so he can run quite fast all the time without getting tired. I wish I could. That would be amazing. I don't like running that much, but you know, if I could do that, I might.
No, not even then. I prefer my car. You know.
Sure.
Otherwise, you get like these little insects stuck between your teeth and all that. Well, let's keep it to that. VSM moving in up on the high ground as Old and Board's Boga needs to go for the Mega, but I think he should have left that to Danye. Danye healing himself at the end of it all is able to get alive out of that. Good right click from him. Ding with the follow-up. Cafe is there as well. And wow, that was just put to the face.
Oh man, I mean, they just don't want to do anything to do with Love at this point in time.
That's
it's
right.
just they just really don't, and Love is just having a very hard time getting a hold of this team of Old and Board. And I mean, they have the experience. They know how much damage Love can do to them. So I'm guessing they have learned to adapt to it. Cafe now trying to go over the side, goes back, make sure that they're ready for the attack, and now go on the flank. Cafe will be looking for a target here. No way to recall back. They're going up to the stairs. The entirety of VSM is already up here, and it's up to Love to maybe find an opening here. They're going first. They're trying to find the opening, and Cappy's not behind them. No pulse bomb for them, but still, Helix is maybe in the face. So Gibson looking for it. No!
The Transcendence is out, so Gibson and Moose both have an ultimate ready, so they could be trying to brute force this with the 40 seconds they have remaining. So Gibson, good shot onto Explorer there, and now you do see the Graphitic Flux coming out. So Gibson has that visor fired in, but is in a hard fight with Barrett. Ruby's there for the assist. Cafe on the other side onto Blur, but Moose is still there to put some meat on the platter as Danye goes down. Good pulse bomb coming out from Cafe. Nowhere to run here for Ruby on the in that side room as Cafe looks for further targets. Now VSM, they look like they are pretty much done with this one as Danye fires in the last visor. 5 seconds still on the point. I don't think anyone is there to extend it for now unless Love can do it from the side room. They're jumping in, get the right click pretty much immediately. Both of the tanks moving in from the side of VSM, but Blur already goes down. Wow, Moose holding on for a long time. No one there for the follow-up touch. No one to extend. Old and Board take the 2-0.
Old and Board, they're still looking as good as they were before. VSM is making it close, but it's those last fights, those tiny little details that just keep edging it out. And if you're in that position as VSM, when you see that happen, you know how close you are. You know how close you are to completing that map, to holding on defense, to maybe taking a map in the end. And when the margins are that slim, when it's all about just maybe sometimes not getting picked off first, going for a different style of approach every now and then as a Tracer, where Explorer doesn't eat all the pulse bombs, where Boger gets a little bit less freedom of movement, where Ding doesn't get to do the damage that they do or Ruby does. Yeah. It's all the tiny things here and there. That's what high-level Overwatch is about. It's the tiny details. And right now, the tiny details are falling in the favor of Old and Board, but it doesn't mean that it's going to happen for the entirety of the time, because it's been very close to these two maps already.
It has, but as much as we love the way that that Love was in the back line, was able to come in with that triple kill in the early sets of Point B,
Yeah.
it's also to his biggest detriment right there that, for instance, someone like Ding can do a lot of damage, right? You see,
Yeah.
Cafe has all the movement in the movement room in the world. Ding has all the time to do some damage in the world. The same thing goes for Barrett, and that is all on the back
Yeah.
of Love just consistently dying early, consistently being picked off by Danye.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely going to be a case of how can VSM adapt to this? Can they actually do quite a bit more work than they have been doing before? Can they maybe fix one of those tiny mistakes or tiny discrepancies that are between the two teams right now? And Eichenwalde is a pretty nice battleground to do that on. You've seen Sir Gibson play the Echo a little bit, which was working very well. Also the Soldier. I think that's definitely still something you can do. But I also know that old on board Danye is a phenomenal Echo too. So it's still going to be a matchup between the DPS, still between the team, the tanks and the supports. And when we look at the usage of ultimates from both of these teams, when did they use them, what value get out of them, I do think there's also a big difference between how much the Brigittas get out of their rallies. It's Noctis, apparently, especially, Noctis, Barras, especially, on that last point of Hanamura, the fact that they got that rally off, walked into the point, but just enough time and distracted focus from VSM to deny them capping that second tick, and even the third one maybe after that. So it's those things where the reactive ultimate from Noctis didn't get as much as the one from Barrett sometimes does as an initiation or a distraction. And knowing when to use those ultimates and when to have them online, or when you can have them online, is such a big deal in this meta right now. And yeah, it makes all the difference.
Well, what else could make a difference right now would be a win from VSM, because that would mean that the series is not over yet. VSM in the white side, they are coming in for the attack, while on the defense we have Old and Board, and they are getting ready to stem the tide of a very eager, very hungry VSM.
Yeah, it's going to be VSM's last chance. Every single map they win, the next map's going to be the last chance, of course. This is their last chance to get another map win in Trials, to throw all on board for a bit of a loop. And they're going to do it with an attack composition, an attack strategy. The teleport Symmetra over the roof with the May wall. What a nice one. They charge straight to point. Ollie, this point is already going to get capped.
Oh, Moose and Blur just fly into that on the back of that teleport, and you do see Moose in his element. Moose is a fantastic Reinhardt, known all throughout the German scene, and we now have not one, not two, but the full triple cap in just under 20 seconds. That's the kind of speed and power that we were talking about, even though it is in a different composition that they're playing right now.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy, Ollie. They did it. That strategy, we have seen that like 2 years ago, like in the earlier days of Eichenwalde. And now teams are pulling it out again. It's one of those strategies you truly forget about until it happens. And they don't only just jump in, they get an immediate charge kill out of that. Everything was just not set up for that on the defense. That they do have to switch up everything to get their composition rolling again. But just getting that first point is such a big deal. This fight afterwards, it doesn't even matter anymore. Like, I don't care about this fight. I don't care if they win or lose it. That play is what we're caring about here.
That play, absolutely beautiful. Keep that in mind and keep that in your heart, but also put it out of your heads as Ding fires 2 heads in just directly on the backside of that.
Now they're going to be continuing. I'm still reeling from that play, by the way, but and they're getting some kills. They're getting the openings. Blur's actually making a lot of space here, gets Barrett out of it, and they're going to be able to get this payload rolling. It seems like Olden Board might have been shaken a little bit here, and that's exactly what we wanted to see. We know that VSM has these strategies. We know they have these tactics, and I'm very happy that we're seeing more of that.
Yeah, Danye, the only one getting out of that one relatively unscathed as far as the shaken up things go. Blur and Boga fighting up on top of the castle, and I must say, this is still looking good for VSM. I'm not sure if they are shaken, but at least the momentum, if VSM can hold on to that, will just be in their advantage. Boga comes there and just confirms the kill onto Sir Gibson. Explorer, nice shot, goes for one, finds number 2 as well in Noctis with a nice corner shot here, and VSM falling apart on the bridge here.
VSM not quite being able to continue their drive there, but at least they have some players in the backline. Both Love and Blur are essentially in their spawn, and that's super dangerous to work with. They both got their ultimates. Blur being chased down, has the minefield. The pulse bomb of Love finds nothing, and Ding takes them out. That's a failed flank, and even the minefield gets used. Oh, Blur. Oh, what a waste.
What a waste indeed, but you get that minefield up quite quickly, so you don't have to cry over spilled explosives. Boga keeping the point away from moving. There's a copy coming out from Sir Gibson, immediately gets fired out. Noctis goes down, but Blur and Love are there. Boga and Caffey both away from the keyboard right now, and that means that there is still a chance that VSM can push this forward. Moose has that bomb, gets up there by the graphitic flux, is able now to fire in that Diva bomb just to try and get a new mech. You do see that there is still Ruby just trying to kick their way out of it. At the end of the day, Moose has to reset, but the payload still moved forward quite a bit here, Man of Class.
Well, yeah, so far, I mean, they were doing very well in this map, but they have just been stalled right now on that second point. We know how hard it can be to cap, but no, sometimes that's just how it is on Eichenwalde. I'm really looking forward to see what they're going to do with the rally now. I talked before how Barret's was actually getting quite a lot of value out of that. And if Noctis can time it right, it is really going to be a very, very tough one to deal with for Old and Board. But that pile drive,
wow! An Explorer just on the back of that. Boga and Danye come in, and you do see Old and Board want to retake control of their own destiny. 2 minutes on the clock, and the point not capped. It is slowly rolling backwards, and Old and Board slowly want to make sure that this is the end of the night. We already know that that is very much in the stars, but VSM not done yet. 1 minute 45 on the clock.
Yeah, this is going to be not their last attempt, but definitely one of their later good attempts. We'll have the pulse bomb up, which is basically a cooldown, but Noctis still holding onto that rally. Of course, now they can use it, and it comes out. Nice defense against what the attack of Boger. That minefield essentially negated. Love does go down, but you get again both supports, and we know what happens to VSM when they get both supports.
Yeah, that's right. They actually just press the speed button. They do just that. There's the cap. 2 minutes and 48 on the clock. Danye resetting himself. Ding already under pressure. You don't want him to be staggered out this far when you have the entirety of VSM already at your doorstep. Blur with a double kill to Boger and Caffey. You do see that payload slowly rolling forward, but VSM taking a lot of real estate just to make sure that this car can go all the way to the end.
And I like that focus on both Ding and Barretts was so good there. It was just exactly what they needed. We saw it happen on Hanamura, how they kept first. They're doing it here again. There's the pulse bomb from Caffey, though. Gets one. Unfortunately, Sir Gibson cannot live through that one. It will be a very, very tough one to get through in that situation without your soldier. And they're getting staggered out too.
Could have been worse. You could have also lost Ruby, but that did not happen. Old and Board looking maybe for a little bit of a boop opportunity as VSM move in from the site yet again. Explorer under a lot of pressure. Now Rialto on hell of a graphitic flux, but there it is. The Transcendence is popped by Ruby. Keeps the rest of the team alive. Now Danye follows it up with a visor, but cannot peek any further around that corner for the longest time due to a lot of pressure. Now there's the flux from the other side. We do see that Moose can play this game as well. Ruby gets Boger on the back of this. VSM relentlessly pushing forward. Old and Board, while they are still in control, it does look like a very sweaty job to stay in control for these people who are still favorited and still ahead.
This is going to be a VSM completion potentially if they can get the value out of this, again, out of the rally, but also potentially out of the tire that's getting very close for Love. It's such a good hero on this map. It's so enclosed. You can just keep spamming nades and you'll probably hit something. Ding already down. There goes Cappy. VSM on track to complete this.
They are moving further in as Moose makes some space, goes in for the 1v1 onto Barrett. Barrett is still alive. Now finally they get him out, but Explorer coming out of the gate again. Moose needs some healing. Moose is still alive, able to survive that. There's a tire. No one there to touch it, and Love just cleanses it out with some fireworks.
Yeah, very nicely done from VSM. They got stuck a little bit on second, but definitely pushed through. And that first point, I mean, we can still go back to it. I want to see the replays. The clips are going on Twitter for that one because that was a moment, maybe the best moment of this entire Trials week, both EU and NA. But it's one of those strategies, you know it's there. Like, deep down, you know it exists.
Yeah.
But never think a team is actually going to do it. Our producers actually said, I didn't even know that was a thing you could do, but it is. So what happens, I'm going to recap that because it's actually quite important to talk about. So what happens is you walk out of a spawn, you put a Maywall up, and that creates a platform for the Symmetra teleporter to be placed upon. Then you go up there, and the Reinhardt just charges through, apparently got to point and got Ruby got Dink straight away. But
yeah,
that's how it works. So you completely bypass that entire choke point, which everyone expects you to walk through, and immediately get on the objective with a Winston and a Reinhardt that just stand there and say, okay, you want us? Come and get us because we're already here. It's once again, it's one of those strategies that I mean, many know that it's there. Some people apparently didn't, but it's one of those that yeah,
it's
you just forget.
So old school, it's basically the archives.
Yeah, it's not even old school. It's just because it's such a niche thing. It's more niche. We always talk about the teleporters tried on Hanamura. You just teleport in, or even on Horizon Lunar Colony when that was still a thing. And teams are sort of ready for that because it happens frequently enough that you do expect teams to maybe roll that out sometimes.
Yeah.
But because you have no view on the spawn on Eichenwalde, like you literally do not see what they do unless you have a Pharah flying up there, maybe, or an Echo. Then you're never going to be position ready. And even if you see them coming, the only way you see them coming as a team is when you're so far forward on that choke point that they still end up behind you with that strategy. So it's a beautiful thing. It was very well executed from VSM. We are in a bit of a pause. That's why I get the opportunity to talk about this. But yeah, VSM did a really good job. And that itself, capping that first point so quickly, gives them enough time to get through B and then through C. There's still 36 seconds on the clock. Map completed, and now Oldenboard actually has to make an effort to complete the map and then go for overtime and win it out. Otherwise, we get into a 3-1 situation, a 2-1 situation, and this series becomes even more interesting than it already is.
Yeah, that's right. Moose just got back in, so the teams should both be ready. To roll in just under a few seconds. I'm at least ready. My body is ready to shout this on into the next round. Exactly, the roar is there for both of these teams. So, Oldenboard, let's talk. You said they might just need to actually put some effort into that. What is that going to look like?
I mean, they don't really have to change much about what they're going to do, right? Like, if that first point actually happens, or like a more of a fight actually happens, I'm sure they might have had a tougher time pushing into third. But now, because that entire dynamic of what they expect this map to go in, like rhythm-wise, they have to now also put a bit of more pressure on the VSM. They might have to play a bit faster, not as controlled as they maybe usually do. And that puts you in a different mindset than it usually does. When on Hanamura you get a second point hold, on Oasis you just get 2 point wins and it's done. And now all of a sudden VSM starts to get some momentum, starts to get some feel in it. And with a team like VSM, when they have these players that they have nothing left to lose, that's a very dangerous proposition to play against in the first place, and now even more so.
You are right. Now we're riding with Love. Love looking is still behind Oldenboard, and they're just looking for that moment to open. No one checking their corners so far, so Love has more or less free reign, at least for a little while. Now the movement is coming in. That it is, the pile driver, and immediately takes full advantage of that. But goes again against Ding, and Ding just knows how to work with that. Takes a double kill. Captain comes from the side, takes Sir Gibson. Explorer with a double kill. This time around, Old and Board are done with VSM shenanigans, and that's exactly what we're going to see here. They're slower on the back of not using a Symmetra strat, but still a very fast cap.
I mean, it's not that much slower in the first place, you know, and now they actually have time to, they don't have as much time to set up for VSM as Old and Board did. That's the biggest difference, because Old and Board was standing around for the longest time waiting on this high ground. They still get down here early, the high ground's still working out for them, and Boger's looking to go down too, but a very different dynamic. Cafe, though, looking for that backline, looking for a pulse bomb onto somebody. Gonna find Blur, but Blur also finds them to a degree, so good even still.
Yeah, look at that. So much pressure coming out from both Blur and Sir Gibson. That Cafe had just no chance to play what they wanted to play. 4 minutes 56 on the clock. Payload has not moved an awful lot, and VSM in a very good position to at least shave some more time off this very much impressive, but conceivable time bank.
And you saw how Love was just like, yeah, you know, I'm so worried about Ding maybe going for a headshot because you were somehow in their spawn. He was actually tactically crouching even when they had killed Cafe already. He was very, very scared of that. Now just gets taken out by Barretts regardless. Oh, Love, it's not your day today. Does has a pulse bomb ready, so might come back in with a bang.
You might want to hope, but I wouldn't hold my breath for it. Old and Board seems to be very able, very, very acquainted with how to stop a Tracer. Barretts and Cafe go up there. Explorer clears it out. That means a 3-player lead on the side of Old and Board. Payload is clear. Love gets fired out. Payload gets moving. That's how this game is played.
4 minutes left already. Far through point B. This is going to be a very interesting one for VSM to hold, especially if you look at the old bank. 6 on the board.
Now moving up, Danye has that visor ready, but first we look at Explorer as they go with the lift of doom onto that minefield. Noctis goes down, so does Ruby. Ding fires in that shot onto Moose. VSM get taken apart here, but look at the ults they had to fire in. That was 2 of them, and look at the ults that are still available for VSM as we go into the defense of that. 5 minutes on the clock, though. That's a long time to hold this.
That was a super huge ult advantage. Not really ult advantage. I think VSM had plenty to work with, but they could just explosively initiate with like 3 or 4 of them. Now, those 4 ultimates are alive for VSM, but you do not want to use them all if you still have to hold for 4 minutes 50. And there's the first pulse bomb from Cafe. Doesn't get enough, but does get a little bit of purchase onto Blur's health pool.
It does. Explorer needs to make sure that there's enough personal shield there for him. Love was there, though. Takes 1, takes 2. There's the visor coming up from Lord Gibson. Sir Gibson, sorry, I didn't want to upgrade the man. While we look out for Love, goes on to Ding. This time Sir Gibson there to actually close out the deal. VSM on the defense. 4 minutes on the clock. They already shaved a minute off and did actually not invest anything more than that visor.
No, they definitely were able to do that with fairly little resources. Still have 2 ults left. Pulse Bomb counts as a cooldown. We don't say that's a thing. Cafe over to the McCree, though. Danye on the Torbjorn. We got Love dying again, but Cafe gets traded. That's exactly what you want. You don't mind dying as long as you take someone with you, especially if you have the defensive spawn advantage. But the initiate's still going to happen because they have even numbers. They don't care. Old and Board wants to get it over with. They're bored. They want to go home.
They do want to get home right now. The graphitic flock comes up. Danye taking a lot of damage, has swapped to that Torbjorn just to make sure that there's enough damage flying up on the forward. Love, though, on the Junkrat. Make sure that Explorer has nowhere to go. Sir Gibson with the right click onto Boga just after that shield expired. They're pushing out. VSM want to keep that aggression going as 3 minutes are still on the clock, which means another minute has been eluded. If that is the case for the rest of it, we're going to look at another 3 to 4 attacks here, man of class.
So far, VSM, I mean, they've been doing very well-ish on this defense, but it's 3 minutes that they still have to hold. The ultimates are online. At some point, they're going to come out with a Deadeye and a Molten Core, and how are you going to defend against that? Love thinks a Riptire might be enough, and at least the Supercharger's there for now, but the Application Matrix does more.
Supercharger versus Amplification Matrix, but there's a lot of damage on Old and Board. VSM still looking healthy for most of it. Transcendence comes out from Ding. There it is, the Graphitic Flux. And on the other side, Danje already has a double kill. Cafe fires in that, fires in the high Tuesday noon. Round 2 has been done because Boga was still just pushing forward.
Boger is under, not really under a lot of pressure most of the time. Is able to roll into the backline quite frequently. Not always with success, but they definitely are able to push it out. We will now see what VSM is able to do on their second offensive attempt. And now we get into that interesting mind game territory, right? Where you think, okay, so last time you did that May teleporter strat with Symmetra. Are you going to account for that on the defense if you're old on board, even if you think they're not going to do it? Or do you think they're going to do it, account for it, and then cannot, defend in the same way that you normally would? It's one of those really reverse psychology things, and just because they did it in the first round, that's still a ripple effect that is going on right now. So VSM might just purely on the basis of that, get a much better attack than they otherwise would with the composition they're going to be running. Of course, we see no changes on the defense. Old and board. I'm not saying they're a boring team. They're definitely not, but it's the good old standard. That's what you can go with. It's something you can rely on. It's the Sigma. It's the Hamster. It is Danye and Kafi on their Soldier Tracer pick and Ding and Barrots on the Zenyatta and the Brigitte. I am looking forward to seeing what wacky strat they're going to pull out this time, but so far it looks to be a Widowmaker Torbjorn with a double barrier. Would be cool if we see it. Love might switch back. Oh, they might be having Love in spawn. Oh, I was going to say they might be having them in spawn just to debate them out, but it also could be just checking. Sir Gibson will be sticking on that Torbjorn, though. That's an exciting one. I would like to see that get value, but Ruby already out.
Most likely going to use that to put as much damage as they can onto Boga and Explorer while you keep your backline clear by using that turret. Does not work out for them though, as it is Old and Board who are just pushing in hard. They're pushing in fast and they're just making sure that VSM cannot even fully leave spawn here. This game is very close to being over, but it's not over yet. 15 seconds on the clock, and we do see VSM regrouping for a second push here, man of class. Let's see what they do.
That is going to be a very speedy one, regardless of what happens. Nice immortality field to stop the slam from coming in, and they do at least touch the point. Now the fight's ending is going to take place. The consumables have been deployed.
Both of them have already been fired out as well. Ding takes down both the turret and the immortality field. Boga takes on Moose as Love finds Cafe in the backline. That could be instrumental. Another turret that doesn't survive the birth of itself as Explorer comes in on the side, but Love takes down 2, takes down 3. Love is just bringing in the pain with the big cowboy. They don't want to give this up. Love is very low though, 48 points. Finally, Explorer and Boga are able to clear the field. It is just a brawl on this point as the Graphitic Flux come out from Explorer onto that bomb. They just landed it under him. That's a disrespect right there. Danye with the double kill to close it out. The overtime we goes down. It is still alive though. Moose and Sir Gibson unable to touch. Round 3 complete. Did you see that play? Now that makes me happy. Yes.
That's just cool to see. Just say you throw him in the air. Here's a pulse bomb to land on. Like nice little jump pad. Your ragdoll animation will just fly up in the air. But as much as Love's boot scooting baby was driving me crazy, my obsession for a Western just definitely ended right there. It was not enough to keep them up. Love even just used the Deadeye in the end and spawn. I was like, yeah, I'm never gonna be able to get back in time. But we will see if VSM has the opportunity to full hold all on board for 2 minutes 50, because they got percentage 55.7 to be exact. And if old and board cannot reach that, well, the VSM still wins the map. And in all honesty, for the way they've been playing so far, I would definitely say they deserve it. Whatever they run out with, whatever they're going to do, whatever they're going to try, it better be good, because Old and Board is ready to take this map away, take the series. But whatever happens, it's been super entertaining. We're going to see Love on the McCree in the end, it looks like, with Sir Gibson still on the Torbjorn, Blur and Moose, Orisa, Sigma, Ruby on the Zenyatta, Noctis on the Brigitte, and Love, even though they're on defense, they're still able to debate me. It's going to be the Ashe in the end. I like the Ashe. We haven't seen her basically all week. Yeah, and yeah, it's coming out now as a surprise, as a treat for us alone, Ollie.
Well, we are going to see what is happening as Old and Board are coming out of the gate. Love on the Ashe. If you can give Love the opportunity and the space to do some work here that could just be very dangerous. 2 minutes and 30, the first 20 seconds already eluded out of it as Caffey takes Sir Gibson's turret. Boga in the back line has been spotted out, has been discorded, and has to move back as a result of that. Danje moving on towards the side. Olden Board, they are repositioning themselves now. They want to come in there with the pressure. Explorer just pushing his team forward, but we already see that the tank line is aware and is ready for that. Moose and Love already take the first shots onto this. It is looking pretty good for VSM, but Olden Board and especially Cafe are still there. They're still healthy. I say that, and Love just clears it out. Wow,
I love to see it, right? Ash one-shotting tracers is one of the most satisfying thing. It's almost on par with May, because that feels even better, because shooting Icicle in the head. Oh, Boger. Oh, Boger's doing it. He's spawn-capping Ruby. Oh, no. Oh, no. It's a valid strategy, but it always feels so mean.
It is mean at this point in time. 1 minute and 30 on the clock. Speaking of time, as Explorer once again pushes Olden Board in. The accretion, for some reason, misses. I think that was just a result of that pile drive, but Explorer still takes 2. Caffey on the sideline takes on to Blur, and now we're very close to the 55. 55.7 plus 0.1. Olden Board take the series, and that, I mean, on paper, we're looking at a 3-0, right? But throw the paper out. Here, look at me. Look at me. I'm throwing the paper out. This is what I think of your paper. That was a fantastic series right there.
Like, honestly, we're at this stage, we're just looking at a game where neither team has anything to win or lose. I think that might have been a part of why they did what they did and how they did it, but it still doesn't matter to me because we got such an entertainment value out of it. I love watching this series. I'm gonna call it, especially that Symmetra May strat that was 100% gonna be the best play of an entirety of Overwatch, competitive Overwatch of the week. I'm gonna count all the contenders, all the trials regions, everything that's been going on. If you can find a better one, yes, fine. But I don't think you're gonna be able to, because it was such a classic, but such a well-executed strategy. It's just beautiful to see that work. And it was just a point A strat too, because they immediately switched off. It was just, I mean, I cannot even. I know I'm hyping it up a bit too much, maybe, but I actually don't think you can hype it up enough. It was just amazing to see.
It was great. It was great. And then just minutes later, you see that great combination between the Graphitic Flux and that Pulse Bomb. Good series. Good series. This is what we're doing for Man of Class. This is just exactly why we do this thing.
Yeah, look, so we came in today, we were like, okay, so the first game actually has implications. You know, if Angry Titans wins, then and Vasta loses, then Angry Titans is very likely to still come into, it can like still come into trials. That didn't happen. They were like, okay, VSM, Olden Board. VSM has basically barely won maps this entire week. Olden Board is already locked in contenders. You know, what is this series going to be like? And while they actually put up an entertaining fight, they didn't actually go that full meme route where you see people swapping on different roles or just playing Bastion and Torbjorn the entire time. It's been just a very good series of Overwatch with a lot of entertainment. That's what we like to see, and we're going to give you more entertainment in the form of an interview with one of the players of Olden Board. We'll be right back with you. Don't go anywhere.
And we are back. We have just witnessed a great series between VSM and Old and Board. You're still watching Monkey Bubble. I'm still the only answer. With me will forever be the man of class, and also with me, a rare pleasure, the one and only Danye for Old and Board. Danye, this series on paper, I've alluded to it already, was, well, quite clear cut. But it must have been feeling quite differently, at least in moments of this map or of this match. Talk us through the way that your team felt when VSM did the crazy things they did.
I guess we didn't react like very much to things they did. We just like played our style and just won because we're better.
Sure. I think what Ollie's mostly referring to is that one opening they did in Eichenwalde. Like, I'm sure you guys are aware that it was a thing, but like, did you at all have that in the back of your mind that it even existed anymore?
You mean that like Symmetra TP?
Yeah, the Symmetra may, of course, yeah. Symmetra may, and then wall it up, Reiner charge over, yeah.
We were pretty confused of like what happened. Like suddenly we like, where are they? Where are they? You know? And suddenly there's Reinhardt on our points, pinning our fucking Zen. Oh, sorry, there was an F word, sorry.
Don't worry about it. That's definitely a reaction you're allowed to have to that one. Because, like, I mean, I said it, and I think even our producer, I don't know if you know it was a thing, Ollie, but, like, indeed, so you walk out of spawn, put the Mei wall on the teleporter on top of it, and then everyone just charges through it. And I can imagine it being confusing if you haven't seen that in 2 years.
I've seen that years ago. Just when
exactly.
Eichenwalde was released, and I've seen that executed properly once, and that time not with a Reinhardt, but in a later game stage with a Diva Bomb. That's the only time I've ever seen that play out. So I can imagine that not being thing. On the other hand, you know, you have Explorer pulling up half the team on that last setup, and then you just see Cafe casually throwing that pulse bomb down. You see your opponent land on it, and the explosion was there. I lost my word right there. That was fantastic. So that's one thing. But all in all, how did you experience this series? Did you feel it was very sweaty, or were you guys relaxed? How did it feel for you?
We were like extremely relaxed, I guess. We like playing this game felt like a comp game, honestly. But like
I can see that.
We were like confident that we're gonna win because like we're just better, as I said earlier. So it was like 6-stack against like it was like 6-stack in comp game, you know, like it's so free.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like you guys were very confident as well, like the way you were rolling around and you Boger spawn camping people, Cafe just having a good old time. Like and on paper, of course, we were expecting you guys to be the better team. It was just very entertaining that it was still, you know, when you see this end scores of maps, it wasn't as dominant as it maybe could have been. So yeah, that was good for us. I mean, of course, you guys are now in Contenders, the last Contenders season of 2020, and afterwards potentially Gauntlet. Like, are you guys really hyped to maybe get over there, or is it just we're gonna keep playing until, you know, eventually we maybe lose? It's just fun.
I don't know. We're just having fun, you know. So like, if we can get to Gauntlet, I don't know how exactly that works, but yeah, we can. It's fine, right? We're just playing for fun.
Yeah, I think you can. Like, I also really clear about the qualification stuff. I think what they're gonna do is like just play the contender season out, and then somehow there's gonna be like playoffs or something. But we'll see how that works out. I think you guys can get to Gauntlets at least, so that's always a fun prospect. But yeah, I mean, it looks like you're having fun. Like the way you're playing just screams that you're making fun plays, and you're talking about stuff that you're like, oh yeah, it would be really cool if we do this, and then it's just, you know, it just happens. The plays come together. We see you a lot on Soldier, sometimes on Echo here and there. Like, are you happy that Soldier's like this good in the meta again?
Yeah, it feels like 2017 again, and it was like my favorite time of Overwatch, that you can just play Soldier and just track people down. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
And it's even better now that you don't have bullet spread, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you sometimes like annoyed that you have to use your ultimate?
No, I think ultimate is still kind of good in certain situations, but like if you're like in the zone, I think you can do more without the ultimate. Right now,
because you can hit the headshots, right?
Yeah,
that's the whole point. Yeah. That's I totally get that. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it briefly at some point where we said, oh, Love is just getting destroyed every time they go in. Were you guys like joking around about that at all, or did you feel bad for him in a certain situation? You're like, oh, seriously, he's there again?
Can you repeat the question? I was
Okay,
distracted for a second.
basically, were you bullying Love on purpose? Yes or no?
No, I think he was just feeding his brains out.
Okay, okay, that can happen sometimes, even to the best of players. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm honestly, I just enjoyed the series a lot. So thank you for that. Are there any people you want to thank or shout out or mention in any way?
I'd like to thank our fans for like rooting for us if we have any fans, because we like new teams. But if we have any, so thank you for rooting for us, and I think that's all.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I really like your logo. It's a super cool one. So whoever made that, congratulations to them. But yeah, I mean, thank you for joining us for the interview. Thank you for the amazing series, and of course, good luck in prepping and playing Contenders. You know, it's going to be a hoot.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, fantastic. So you heard it. So you heard it here from Danye. That was it. That was the last Contenders trials split we are going to have, not just for this month, not for the foreseeable future, but at least for this year. Thank you so much for keeping up with us, not only for this week, but keeping up with us for the last couple of months as we have done this. If you have any further things, any further questions, if you want to know what the off-season brings, keep it up to Twitter at MonkeyBubbleOfficial. Otherwise, I can only thank my good friend, man of class, both of the teams, and of course on the buttons, Ben Vigolo. He is one of the greatest observers ever to walk this earth. So follow him on Twitter as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And of course, Ollie, don't forget, if they want to play games with us, we regularly hang out in the Discord server called the Monkey Bubble Community Hub. All you have to do to join that one is go to monkeybubble.hub, I'm pretty sure is the link to that one. And you just get an invite to the Discord. You can join it. Make sure to accept the rules, otherwise you won't see any of the channels. Very confusing. But yeah, we hang out there all the time, play with people. It's a growing community, so you know, we hope you can help us grow it and also be a part of it. Enjoy just enjoy the game with us. Also other games, not just Overwatch. It's just whatever's there. It's quite a list.
And we promise we are just as obnoxious and loud in real life as we are just on stream. So that's something to look forward to. The other thing you want to look forward to, of course, the EBC Majors starting tomorrow, starting on Monkey Bubble Reflash. So check that out. Otherwise, have a very good night. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.